We're back. We're back. I will tell you, the only thing I ate for lunch was pickles, and a couple cookies. My wife made a couple Christmas cookies. Mrs. Ari has been slaving away in the kitchen, and she said, "I want you to test these for me." She shoved a couple of them in my mouth and then said, "They don't taste right, do they?" I'm like, "Now you tell me." After I'm halfway done consuming them, I'm not sure what was missing. It wasn't quite as sweet as I expected, but I did go back for seconds. Other than that, just had some cookies, and it was delicious. And I spent the entire time playing with Zoom, getting the boxes ready so we can try to bring Matthew Harris on. Hopefully, he'll be able to join us live here for the actual sentencing part of the sentencing, which we anticipate is happening. Of course, there's going to be some deliberation from the jury. I doubt it will take nearly as long as they took to determine his guilt. Now that they found that they're all on the same page. I think they might be able to find common ground a little faster, and this is something that would be easier to find a compromise on as well. So there we go. All right, enough with the music, right? Let's see who was first in chat. It looks like it was Abby. Abby first in chat with yay. Let's see what happened here. There's a lot of shenanigans that happen before I show up in chat. She's bragging that she's first. She wiggled the internet wire, so if somebody said some flickering, that's probably what it was. What does a red wire do? Yeah, you guys, Abby, you didn't break anything, but be careful next time. The red wire is the one you don't touch. Looks like Debbie did that anyway. Katrina, welcome back. 1.5 cats to go. I'll be back. In an Arnie voice. That wasn't an Arnie voice at all. Sorry, I don't know what that came from. Tripped over that HDMI cable, and now we're in trouble if we tripped over that. Okay, I'm seeing myself in. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get the moment that Matthew connects to Zoom captured properly and recorded for all posterity. I guess we're just going to depend on YouTube and on the replay, but I just want to make sure I notice when he's connecting. So Matthew, if you're out there watching, I know we've got a little time before you're able to come back, maybe about half an hour or so. Give me a little jingle on the burner phone. We'll figure it out. Okay, so thank you and for my patience. I was a little bit late, and I got called out for it. Kolovar, looking at you, man. I was late, but I'm here now, and they haven't started. So in a way, I'm early. That's the way I look at it. Thank you for containing everything, Michelle. Can definitely count on you always. Let's see. Are they on the same page? Good question. I assume they are because they were able to reach a verdict, and it was a unanimous verdict, right? But I guess they could have come from very different angles to reach that verdict. So I guess it's possible that they could be deliberating for quite a while. Picked up the puppy from the groomer today, says Lori. Sent me a picture of the dog with a Santa Claus hat on, which is appropriate for the season. Wow, loud interest today. Did I have the volume really cranked up, or it's normal in my ears? But let me know if I'm blasting you out. And apparently there might be some buffering for Lil Miss. Anybody else seeing that? Okay. All right. Volume levels are good. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we're good. Lawn Crime saying they're going to have a feed probably in about 6 or 7 minutes. They tend to be one of the first channels to pick up the feed, but I don't like their feed. So we're waiting until maybe Fox 4 or WFAA provides a better feed that's a little bit cleaner without the LNC stamp. Read the Sarah Boone letter on break. Should we do that now? I'm very afraid she'll ask for number 7. Where'd it go? Let's see, where did I put her letter? I had it pulled up. I'm looking. Might have been on my other browser. There it is. Okay, so Sarah Boone, let's see what we've got here. Can't really put that up because Zoom's a problem. I might not be able to put it on the screen, but let me read you. This is dated December 5th, but it just got filed on the 14th. 14th. So we're a couple days, 2 days ago. It was written from Sarah Boone in jail to Judge Wayne C. Wooten, who is the judge presiding over her case. For those that haven't caught up on this case, Sarah Boone is accused of a game gone wrong, hide and seek gone wrong, where she was playing with her boyfriend, hide and seek, stuffed him in a suitcase and zipped it shut, left him there for 11 hours. When she finally remembered that she had left him there screaming and begging for his life, she went down and unzipped it, but it was too late. It was too late. And now she's on trial for murder. Not first degree, but second degree murder. She's saying there was no intent, but the prosecution says there was intent the moment you zipped it up and walked away. But not only that, in the meantime, between when she zipped it up and walked away, there's an issue of how he got so bruised and beaten inside the suitcase, which originally started upstairs but was downstairs. And then there's also the issue of the little thing where she took out her cell phone and recorded him screaming and begging, struggling to get out of the suitcase, saying, "Sarah, I can't breathe, please." And her saying in response, along with some expletives, this is how I feel when you choke me. This is how I feel when you cheat on me. 2 videos, and I think a still image as well in between that, 10 minutes apart. So yeah, she's got a lot of evidence that's not in her favor, and her firm conviction that she did not intend to as her whole defense at this moment. But in the process of getting to court and moving forward, she has had six defenders. She's on her 6th public defender, and she's complained about this last one. She did flip the suitcase around while he was in there. Yep, it was one side was right side up, and then it was right side down. So we know she's moved it at least a little bit. Yeah, KQD says, I played the game differently as a kid. The person who was it did the seeking, not the hiding of the players. Clearly, we played it wrong. All of us who thought that the person who was it looked for the players, not hid the players. But that's how it happened. Battered women's defense, Cullivar, there is a history of domestic at that address. Both individuals, I believe, having convictions for the roles they played in prior disagreements. The neighbors will probably be testifying that they heard a lot through the walls. They heard a lot. But let's take a look here at this letter, because please tell me if they did the sentence in Sidoti. Yeah, sorry. We are waiting for the trial, Texas via Aaron Dean, to come back. It should be back here in a few minutes. But in the meantime, let me see if I can get through this Sarah Boone letter that she wrote to the judge just a few days ago. Regarding the summary of progress, in quotes, air quotes, I think she wrote air quotes, and it's numbers only because that's all she has. This is a handwritten letter to the judge, stamped received from judge, also stamped no action taken, returned to file, and it's going to be, it says address at 12:20. So there, on 12:20, the hearing that's coming up in 4 days, this will be brought up. So number 1, since appointed by the court, Frank J. Bankowitz, attorney number 6. We have July 11th, 2022, 21 weeks, 147 days, and counting. That's how long has happened since he was appointed. Number 2, since last spoke to Frank Bankowitz, attorney number 6, also in quotes, or in parentheses, August 26th, 2022. She hasn't spoken to her lawyer since August 22nd of 2022, which has been 15 weeks or 105 days and counting. Number 3, since pretrial conference, no response from an attorney or court. October 25th, 2022, 6 weeks, 42 days, and counting. Number 4, since my last letter to judge regarding MIA attorney and case, November 3rd, 2022, 4 weeks, 32 days, and counting. Total hours of time represented by Frank J. Bankowitz. So, I hope she breaks this down all the way to like the seconds or millisecond so we can really see the big numbers. 3,528 and counting. Total hours of time spent with client, Sarah Boone, 2. Where's my attorney? Where are you, Judge Wooten? I understand the holiday mode everyone is in as we inmates sit and wait for it to pass. But before I/we come to the end of our yet another year, almost 3 for me, in OCCD is what it says. Orlando Correctional Facility, I believe, something. I'll have to look at that. It would be respectable of the court to please advise the status and location of my attorney foremost, and also provide any real progress of my case, which is difficult to do, and further, without an attorney. Nonetheless, after being appointed so many, I thought hopefully the level of dysfunction would be lessened. Unfortunately, to date, I am sadly mistaken and feel I've been severely misled. Even more unfortunate seems to be the lack of representation from any party of my case other than myself. Look at the numbers. I'm telling you, I have not read this. I might read a really bad word because I'm like Ron Burgundy when it comes to that. This is my first time through the letter. Still waiting for the trial footage. We'll pull it up as soon as the court comes online to get a live feed. We don't want to miss anything from the action from Aaron Dean. But we're continuing in the letter from Sarah Boone to her judge. The latest letter number 3. Second one to the judge. The first was to her attorney. In the meantime, she says, and in preparation for the upcoming status hearing on 12/20 at 11:45 a.m. Thank you for the time. I didn't know when it was, which I just received notice for. Thanks for the inclusion. I'm in the process of writing to our governor regarding. I'm taking this up a notch. I'm bringing the governor in. I'm in the process of writing to our governor regarding the mismanagement of my case and the multiple added obstacles and deterrents I'm experiencing, trying to avoid any further time-consuming hindrances or setbacks going forward. She has long sentences. Still nothing from the Dean trial. I will pull it up just as soon as we have footage, guys. I know we're waiting for that sentencing, but still. Continuing the Sarah Boone letter. Some of the major legitimate concerns, she has major legitimate concerns as opposed to the other ones. Concerns of mine are violations of my constitutional rights. The degree of neglect and the nonchalant approach by everyone in my case to substantially progress, and the illegal, non-permissive release and distribution by the Orange County Sheriff's Department of crucial, confidential case files, videos, photographs, documents, etc., pertinent to my case, which I have not even seen or even know about. I'll give that just a minute to sink in. She's mad about all these things that they've released to it she's never seen or even known about. Everyone knows, this is in caps, everyone knows more than I do about my case. I think we know one thing more than you do. Okay, we've got a feed right now. We're going to pull it up. It's the wall, but we'll take it. Okay, so everyone knows. Let me bring up my picture so you can hear me as well, or see me. Everyone knows more than I do about my case. As a result, it is impossible to choose a jury that will be impartial, fair, and uninfluenced by all the mutated, exaggerated, hyped sensationalism. This being a significant reason I requested a change of venue previously. At this point, it will make no difference. There's nowhere I am not known. You might as well just not try me, because you can't get a fair jury. I added that part. The premature, unfair judgment by everyone has wrongfully and inappropriately already been made. I haven't even seen my discovery or know where my attorney is. My 6th attorney. Not only am I, the other party in my case, still in the dark with everything, I am blind and in the dark. This is wrong, unfair. Let me read that again. Not only am I, the other party in my case, still in the dark with everything, I am blind and in the dark, period. Judges on the bench. We're going to have to finish this later. I will tell you that we will go through this probably on Monday. I think Monday we're going to do a deep dive because this letter is not done. It's 4 or 5 pages if you count the last one there with just the address. But she's threatening to go to the governor. She's taking it up a notch. She's asking for the powers that be to intervene. Wasn't her victim also in the dark? Too soon, Miss Chris, too soon. Yes, definitely. Okay, so this is going to be her case and the suitcase. Poor choice of words, but we're back watching the door. We believe the defendant is not in do we call him the defendant after he's already been convicted? Aaron Dean is not there. And that tape on the door bugs me. I know that's like a little peekaboo window, but they've got like caution tape holding it closed. I guess he's putting the suit on. Let's see. Can somebody see what the temperature is in that room, in the hot box, whatever they call that? Okay, so wow, she is crazy. Must be a suitcase that she's in. the governor will drop everything for Sarah Boone. Yeah, he's gonna be right on it. He's gonna be like, Sarah, why did no one tell me? This is a travesty of justice. I will grant you a pardon immediately. The governor's assistant will not even get the letter. Right? It's going straight in the round file. I guess officially they have to file it because it's an official communication. Well, no, that's if it comes from him. They might not even need to file it. Her case is an open shut kind of case. She opened it, put him in, and then shut it. That is exactly what the prosecution is alleging. It's a timer. Is that a timer? Because it looks like a thermometer. What would the timer be for? It's like a safe, a lock on the safe. Okay, I'm gonna have to zoom in here. Just not that one here or down here. Let's go program. It is a timer. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. I see how this is going. 45, 50, 55. So it's why would they have a timer right there? Who needs the timer? Is that for the people on the inside? Here we go. Glad you could join us there, sir, Aaron. Looks like you were out of the suit briefly because when you put your tie back on, it's tied miserably. I mean, it's a sad excuse for a tie, quite honestly. Thank you. You're welcome. Hopefully she self-represents. Oh my goodness, can you imagine that, Cullivar, if Sarah Boone pulls a Daryl Brooks? And then all we need is also for her to convert over to Sov Sit, and then we'll have everything all at once. It would be heaven. The numbers make no sense for a thermometer. Yeah, you're right. I zoomed in on my screen and put it on the big 50-inch, and it's a timer of some sort. It's seconds only, no hours, or minutes only, or it could be seconds or minutes, I guess, but no hours. The judge says so Brian doesn't burn his hot pockets again. Looking at you, Brian. Brian is the first name of one of the.
Everyone may be seated.
Excuse me, one of the bailiffs in the court.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Ready to proceed.
We're ready.
Gill.
We call Gail Armstrong.
Gail Armstrong.
Gail Armstrong has been
Gail
called.
Armstrong. She's outside.
Okay, I'm going to switch. We want a different feed here. We're going to take this one.
We call Gail Armstrong.
There we go. It's a little bit cleaner for me to do this
Gail
one.
Armstrong. She's outside.
Everyone's outside. The judge has pretty much kicked everyone out of the courtroom at one time or another. And anyone he doesn't like or looks at him sideways, he swears to be a potential witness, and then they have to leave. Which has been interesting. It's a timer for opening arguments. Now that's something I might believe. Why is he in handcuffs in a jail suit? Probably because he's not a risk. But there might have been an agreement they did in the pretrial.
The truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, self God. Okay, have a seat right here.
This lady's bundled up for bear. She's must be cold.
Unless you're testifying, and once you have testified, do not discuss your testimony with anybody else except the lawyers. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gill.
Thank you. Can you tell the jury your name, please?
My name is Gail Armstrong.
Ms. Armstrong, how are you occupied or employed?
I am semi-retired, which never happens, but I have worked with my husband in self-employment, homeschooled 4 children, and have stayed very busy.
We might have to get Mrs. R.A. in here to talk about homeschool.
Yes.
And what kind of business are you all in?
He tunes and repairs pianos. We were also in full-time ministry, and he also
Piano
sings
tuner.
concerts at retirement homes and places like that.
Have you lived a long time in the Tarrant County area?
I was born here, raised here, and am still here.
Lifelong resident?
Correct.
All right. So do you know the individual seated 2 seats to my right over here?
I do.
Who is he?
That is Aaron Dean.
You're
How do you
right.
know Aaron?
I met Aaron when he was 12 years old. Their family began to attend a church that we were in.
They're just drinking already.
We also home educated as well as his family, and we had started a choir, Metroplex wide, for those kiddos. And so Aaron
Metroplex
became
Wide
a member
Choir.
of that
That's a weird
when he
name.
was 13, which would have been, so I guess I've known him about 26 years.
And I guess you know his entire family?
I do.
And you met them through the homeschool network?
Yes.
And has there been a period of time when y'all have gone to church together?
Yes, we actually helped start a church with his family and then continued on for another 12 or so years in the same church.
And where was that church located?
We started a church in Mansfield Family Church, and then from there we attended Fair Park Baptist Church in Crowley. And my husband was minister of music and youth at the last church I mentioned.
Is anyone else getting an echo?
And was Aaron a member at that church also?
Yes.
Okay, so is he, did he have anything to do with the youth ministry that your husband ran?
Well, yes, he was a member of the choir. Now, the homeschool choir met weekly, but we did concerts on Sundays, so a couple of times a week with that. Over the course of the 19 years that we had that choir,
Matthew, I think
Aaron
we're
was
ready.
Probably there.
I sent you some
most of
Zoom
that time
contact
until I
information
graduated from college,
if
because
you
we
want to
went
try to
from
join.
high school choir to college career, all the way down to the younger ones. So,
So there was
This
the
is regular
homeschool
speed.
choir, that's one group,
correct.
and then the church choir is actually a different group.
Well, the church itself, yes, through different ministries, there was things that at the church that were separate from that choir. The choir we had took tours on a yearly basis all over the country, and so we heavily depended on young men like Aaron to load the suitcases
Like
and open
Aaron.
the doors.
We just need the muscle. That's
So
it.
what kind of things would Aaron do to help with that choir ministry?
He was quite knowledgeable with the sound equipment. And then, like I said, there was always setup, chairs and things to move at the church that would not normally be there, or the places that we would rehearse.
Sarah Boone could have used him to
And
move the
then, like I
suitcase.
said, when we would go anywhere, we had to carry equipment. Aaron was always there to help set up and load.
He was just the
whatever
cheap
we
labor.
needed.
Cheap labor.
So what kind of a guy did you come to know Aaron to be?
Aaron's he's a great guy. He led by example. Of course, he's been raised to be that way. But I just have a couple of circumstances I really remember when we were, say, loading up buses, and as young men have a tendency to do, they would become
I see you,
distracted.
Matthew.
He would
I've
kind
got
of
you.
lead the crew. But he was
Hang on
never
just 1
demonstrative
second.
about
As
that.
soon as
He's
I hit
like,
this button,
"Hey,
you're going to be live on
you
the
got more
audio,
to
okay?
do," but he would do that while he was doing it. You know, he definitely led by leadership and just coaching, the younger guys as he got older. So he always did what we asked him to do, and if we
Is
needed
it
something
working?
done, he would ask if he could help.
Do we have
with
the
that.
Matthew Harris live with us? Can you
He
hear me?
even- Yes,
There I
he's
am.
very skilled musically, and so there were times when my husband couldn't.
We'll
do
still
a
have to play with the
rehearsal.
audio levels a little bit
Aaron would step in.
to get things
He'd ask what
going.
he could do
But this
and
is
what
what
he
he looks
should
like in
do,
person. Let me turn
and
down
did
the
exactly
witness just for a
what-
minute here.
My husband's name is Craig, so
Well, nice to know
exactly
Craig.
what Craig asked him to do.
We have Matthew. I'm
And
going to change
you know what?
this,
I was talking
make
to
this a little
somebody
small.
the other day.
Action, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Non-responsive.
Did you have another?
Yeah, she's got to answer the question being asked.
It says,
There we
as
go.
we were, had the church, the young people would go and play outside quite a bit, and it was.
Hey, Matthew, are you able to hear
rollerblading
properly, or
time.
do you need me to turn it up at all?
And one thing I always admired
I can hear it
about
fantastic. It seems like there might be a
Aaron
little
was
bit of a
that-
delay
Now, we have 4
to
daughters.
the actual live
3
YouTube.
biological, and
Okay.
1 is a mixed race that we adopted. So he was always the gentleman that even though there was a goal line for the race, if someone fell, he would stop and pick them up. So Aaron was always
You would drag them over the finish line.
always had
Aaron sounds like a
other
good guy
people
here.
in consideration. For
Well,
what
of
he
course,
was
they're
doing.
only going to say good things about him at this point.
Do you think it's going to sway the jury at all?
You told me.
I don't know. Judging the way that they've already rendered this verdict, I don't know that they're necessarily looking for a reason to
Yes,
let
just
him off the hook
recently
now.
we made a move to relocate from my East Fort Worth home where I actually grew up in, and my husband's
Matthew's
health
appeared in
issues
custody.
didn't allow him to.
I've got him locked up in the top corner.
I was like, oh,
Top
who
corner
am I?
window. We
I was
won't let him
gonna
go
do
now
it,
that we
and I
got
needed
him.
help. So I tagged Aaron, and I thought, can you help me put this fence up? Of course, he actually put the fence up, and I kind of helped him, which I will never do again.
You'll never help him again. Is that what I heard? That's what I heard, Matthew. Did you never help him again?
Worked relentlessly to do that for us, and he had other things he had to stop work for, and he would go do that, and he would be there either early in the morning or stay late at night to get the job done. And straight. He's pretty accurate.
So, Matthew, I don't know how long you can stay with us, but you're welcome to stay as long as we live stream. But if you do have to bail, just let me know and feel free. You will not hurt my feelings.
Yes.
I know you've got
I mean,
a
whether
real
that
job
was
to
my
do.
fence or whether it was
Well, I finished my
working
closing
in the
arguments
music
on my
programs that we
case from
had.
this morning, so I've got a little bit of time, and I've got a
there was
couple
never a
orders that I've
time
got to
that we
finish up.
couldn't count on
Awesome.
Aaron finishing or doing what he said he would do. Never.
You missed our letter from Sarah Boone that we were reading. Did you catch part of that?
Oh,
There's a new
man,
letter to
yeah,
the
I really
judge.
want to see that.
We'll be talking about it on
We work
Monday.
with
Maybe
probably
you have time to join
between
them.
our
I don't know
church
what your
and choir,
schedule looks like
well
then,
over
but
1,000 young people.
MB
And,
says, "How are you old enough to be an attorney, Matthew?"
I never observed
I know,
the
I'm
roll of the
40.
eyes from Aaron.
He just looks young. He's got
He's
lots of
always
experience.
been, respectful and even to other people courteous. He's the door opener.
And the window crasher,
True.
the window shooter.
I do still have pants on today.
Yes,
On
I mean,
Friday?
very much so.
casual Friday, so they're jeans, not suits.
Okay.
That comes with partly with completing his jobs too, but I don't recall ever him challenging me, which I know that, I mean, most of y'all would know when a husband's doing a job, there's a wife somewhere. And I dealt a lot with these young people, and never had an opportunity to ask him to complete something that
Does
he
she
was
come across
starting.
as really being close
And
to Aaron Dean?
When we take young people on choir tours from Washington, D.C. to New York, and we have teenagers, one time 150.
To a certain extent. I mean, I think
You
she,
get a
she's
lot of
speaking
opportunities
from
for
some
young people
experience
to
with him.
challenge
I
the
don't know that
rules.
she's really demonstrating so well that they were
But
friends or that she's necessarily
Aaron
vouching
was
for him at this
always
point. And that's what he really
on
needs,
top
truthfully.
of what he needed to be doing.
Did the 150 teenagers include both boys and girls?
Yes, and amazingly so, it's not like we had a real low amount of boys. We had a pretty equal amount of boys and girls. Young
Ginger, this is a
women,
character witness for
13
Aaron
to
Dean.
18 on most
This is
of our
someone who knew him
tours.
since he was a child through church. And is basically saying he's a good guy. He's never been a problem. Never had any issue with him. Could always count on him.
Is Aaron a domineering type personality?
No, not at all. He's very approachable.
Let me turn down the witness here for a
Very
minute.
courteous
Matthew,
in
we're getting a request
anything
for a quick
I
bio.
needed him to do.
Absolutely. So, grew
Not
up in
pushy
East
at all.
Texas. Joined the military whenever I was 17. Spent 8 years bouncing
I
all
wouldn't
over the
describe
place.
him as egotistical.
Got out,
I would
went to
say
law school here in
Aaron
Lubbock,
strived to be
and just
accurate
fell in
and
love
know
with it.
what he needed to do.
Lubbock was a really great place to start a practice. So I started my own firm right out of law school. Now we've grown, we continue to grow. We're about 13 people large right now, and we do primarily civil law, a little bit of criminal law
No, I wouldn't say so.
when we have to, and mainly for ongoing
He has
clients. It's not
leadership
something that we do
skills,
on a
and
regular
other
basis for
people
just
looked at
anybody.
him
And we
what it was
my
they
primarily
might need to do.
my primary area of practice
But as
is
far as-
more civil and a whole lot of family.
He's a very approachable, humble
All right, so
young man.
what's your like most notable case or the one that sticks out was like the craziest, the most interesting, the most bizarre? What's something from your history that you could share with us?
Uh, two of them probably stick out. One, I am Santa Claus's actual attorney. Um, we did a name change for a gentleman, and I have his permission to share that because he had seven other attorneys that turned him down to do a name change before I finally took on his case and we won. The other one you may have seen, I was on Good Morning America for last year around this time. It was a father that got shot at a custody exchange. That's the Chad Reed case. If you see that online, that was me on Good Morning America last November.
That's awesome. So you're famous, is what you're saying.
It's on Hulu, so that means I'm technically part of the MCU canon, I suppose.
Nice.
That's what my son said.
Well, that's awesome.
I think Pharisees might have asked that.
Pharisees asked that.
We're
Maybe.
talking religion
Do
now.
you believe an eye for an eye?
Ooh, eye for an eye. That's where he went. Eye for an eye.
That's good.
That's
how
the
I
law,
would go.
law of Moses. Eye for an eye.
Personal perspective and understanding is that we serve a God of love and mercy and forgiveness. And we are expected to be Christ-like. So I don't know that eye for an eye always applies.
Is it Christ-like to touch a woman who does not want to be touched?
No.
Is it Christ-like to take the life of another person?
I think the Bible defers several things.
There's something about a thou shalt not
unjustly,
kill, if I remember
and then
correctly.
there's a time that,
The
as
answer to
in
that
the
one should be
scripture
no.
talks about, there's a time to kill, a time to, there are
Santa guilty of
situations
break-ins.
that God allows us to
Countless.
exert discernment in.
You don't agree with this jury's verdict, do you?
Wow.
I don't know that I
Never heard
don't
that
agree.
question.
I know that a tragic thing happened and a young woman lost her life.
Do you think
That was well said. That was a good
the
response.
defendant should be held accountable for that woman losing her life?
We are in a court of law, and laws give us guidance, and I think that there are certain ways that he should be held accountable.
Thanks, MB. I don't want to talk over this. Thank you so much for the super chat.
You want me to
Thank you
continue?
for all you do.
Can't
Sure,
tell.
yes.
He wants to just
Okay.
keep going and going.
So, given the law, as Christians, since you deferred to that, we are to submit to the authorities of the law, and there are things that we must go by.
And so if this jury found him guilty, then this jury should punish him. Isn't that correct?
I think the jury has a responsibility now to make a decision accordingly.
But it's their decision to punish them, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Read the record.
Nothing further, Judge.
And Ms. Armstrong be excused subject to any potential recall.
No objection from the state.
How many do you think they're going to have here from defense? Do
How many
two?
have they had so far?
I think that was the second. I think they've had two. They had one, the bass player.
Mr. Gill?
Tom Dugan?
Tom Dugan.
Was there another one after the bass player? Yeah, these are Dean's witnesses. These are character witnesses in favor of him.
So what their goal should be here should be to say, listen, I've known him. I've known him to be a good guy. I've known him to be honest, straightforward. But you've obviously found that he has committed this, and I know that you're going to punish him. But I'm begging for clemency. I'm begging for forgiveness for him. Give him a chance to lead out a life. That's the only way that you get some sort of that sympathy from the jury in order to reduce that punishment.
Yeah.
And I'm not hearing that so far, which is baffling.
Come up, please, sir. Raise your right hand for me. Solemnly swear or affirm testimony given this cause to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, help you God.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you think they'll have a former
Rule of procedures in effect says
officer,
you cannot be
fellow
in court
officer
unless you're
testify?
testifying. Once you have testified, don't discuss your testimony with anybody else except the lawyers, okay?
Yes, sir.
maybe
Yeah,
maybe
spell.
Darch? What do they call Darch?
First and last name and spell it for the court reporter, please.
First name Thomas, Thomas. Last name is Dugan, Dugan.
Mr. Gill.
Mr. Dugan, how are you occupied or employed?
Employed by the Fort Worth Police Department.
Yep.
I'm a detective in the West Side General Assignment.
So you're a Fort Worth Police Department officer, you're assigned to the west side area, is that right?
Yes, sir. I'm a detective.
And then, detective, you said you are assigned to what's called general assignments.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean?
Basically, we have certain departments for homicide, robbery, things like that. We get anything from, somebody's car is burglarized, retail theft at Target, criminal mischief, basically everything else.
So you investigate a wide range of criminal offenses.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been a detective?
Since I got promoted in March of 2019.
And before that, how?
Lomas had me cracking up there.
I
What'd you
was
say?
a patrol officer. My whole career, I did all of my time on the east side of Fort Worth.
Okay, next time Matthew's talking, we're going to take him full screen. I'll keep the audio going from court, but you'll get a better look at him. How about that?
Approximately 8 years.
So during those 8 years.
Congratulations on 21 years, though, Matthew. That's awesome.
Commissioned law enforcement officer serving the citizens of Fort Worth.
Yes, sir.
Were you ever assigned as a field training officer?
Yes, sir.
What does a field training officer do?
We train officers once they graduate the academy.
So once an officer graduates an academy, they go through an additional series of trainings, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is there more than one phase to field training?
Yes, sir. I don't know exactly how they do it now. It's constantly changing and trying to improve. But when I was doing it, there were 3 phases. The first phase, second phase, third phase. Each phase is 4 weeks. Once they finish third phase, then they do what they call ghost phase, which I believe they still do, and that was a 2-week phase where their field training officer would be in civilian
Right.
clothes,
Maybe
kind
watch
of
a little
just
bit.
be with them and let the trainee handle the calls, best they could, and kind of evaluate from there.
So what were your duties as a field training officer? What were you trying to accomplish?
Depending on the phase that they were in, just try to help them along, make sure that they were up to standard with, how far along they were. For example, if I had a first phase rookie right out of the academy, I would hope that they could find the place that they were going to, call that they were dispatched to.
He sounds
without killing
nervous.
us, and be able to talk to the people, take notes, get good information. It's basic stuff. Write a good report. Communicate well with people, things like that. First phase is
So
pretty
was
basic.
this his
Second
handler
phase, which
when he
is,
first
I
came out on the
believe,
force?
is what I
Is that
had,
what we heard?
with Aaron? I honestly don't recall.
Yeah, and it sounded like he was also trying
Second
to look
phase
for placement.
is a little bit more. You're expected
departments
to
after the
investigate
academy.
a little bit further. You're learning in phase 1. Hey, what did I miss on this call? Well, you missed this. You should have asked this. Things like that. In second phase, they should be a little bit more.
We need to get you a mug,
in tune
Matthew.
with What's going on, what they're doing.
I need me a mug.
Third phase and so on.
I've got my
So you generally
custom
expect an
Yeti.
officer to improve.
All right, it's got your logo. Okay, you're good.
Yes, sir.
In their-
I'll have to send you
in
one of my
their learning
mugs.
process to become a full-time Fort Worth police officer.
Yes, sir.
Now, you know the gentleman over here 2 seats to my right.
Yes, I do.
Who is that?
It's Aaron Dean.
Did you know Aaron Dean to be a Fort Worth police officer?
Yes.
In fact, were you Aaron Dean's field training officer at one point?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember approximately when that was?
I believe it was in 2018 sometime. I'm not for sure. I believe it was 2018.
would it be a fair statement that as a field training officer, you have supervised and trained a number of different local police officers?
Yes, sir.
I don't think they'd call him unless he had good things to say about their
Yes, sir.
client, or at least the line of questioning would at least look positive on their client. He might not want to be there,
What phase of field
but
training
they know what he's going to
you
say,
were assigned
basically.
to Aaron?
As I said, I wouldn't stake my life on it. I believe it was second phase. I don't believe it was first phase, and I recall him being in another phase after I had him, I think on day shift, but like I said, I believe it was second phase.
Debbie, I'd say they had intent as soon as he admitted that he pulled the trigger intentionally. I mean, that was an admission.
Our training, yes, sir.
He did not intend to kill her necessarily. It was to stop the threat that he perceived, according to his testimony.
How long period of time does these phases of field training last?
4 weeks.
So approximately a month?
Yes, sir.
Would you be with the officer that's being trained for the entire shift?
Yes, sir. Yeah, give or take,
Bite me. I think,
a few minutes.
let's turn
here
this
and
down
there.
just a little bit. I think it definitely would have had an impact on the jury, which is why they shouldn't have heard it and why they didn't hear it. Why the judge excluded these prior acts or other information that wasn't relevant to the actual crime that he was on trial for. That's why it wasn't told him. We can hear it now
For the phase
because
that I
that's
had
important
him,
for the sentencing, but not for determining guilt.
Specifically, like I can't recall any specific call that we were on. As you mentioned, I had countless rookies that I trained. So, but nothing ever stood out to me that there was any issue. If there were issues, they were documented. I do specifically recall him being willing to learn and wanting to learn. Sometimes you have, kids coming out of the academy, they're 20-nothing years old, and they think they know everything. Aaron was very humble. He wasn't that way. Doing what we do, we generally have to have thick skin, so we kind of give each other a hard time a lot in a department, but especially with rookies. And he took all the joking around very well in stride and didn't get his feelings hurt. He was very humble and a good sport throughout all of that. So I do recall that.
I'd have liked to see a mock-up for this trial.
Would it be a fair statement that you don't remember exactly all these calls that you went on with him, but certainly there are some you certainly had to counsel him and correct him on some of his methods, is that right?
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't recall specifically, but with what we do, you can't know everything. You can graduate the academy. I remember when I graduated the academy and my first shift out after field training, honestly, I thought, I have a gun and a car, like a police car. People are going to call me to their house, expect me to know what to do. It's very overwhelming. So there's no way you're going to learn everything and know everything. So there's going to be correction, first phase, second phase, third phase, goes phase, and you're going to continue to learn throughout your entire career. There were probably things that I corrected him on.
Richard, this testimony is
but
only
I don't
for
recall if they were,
sentencing.
and
It's not
I
for
do
the guilt.
remember
He's already been convicted.
that everything that I did.
So this
speak
wouldn't
with
go
him
to
about,
state
that
of
he
mind at
was
the time.
Receptive.
Did he seem to take in what you told him?
Yes, sir.
And did he seem to learn from the direction you gave him and adjust his methods accordingly?
Yes. Yeah, he wanted to learn. He's a smart guy. So he's very analytical.
We've got a
Everything
question
I
here
told him,
from
I do
Ed.
remember him being
Yeah.
like, no, he was just trying to learn and apply everything. So.
This one here.
And that's
The one up above, you figured the verdict.
Yeah.
take the academy graduate.
Yeah, so homicide is just killing another human being, and so if you kill another human being, technically that's going to be homicide. But if you are the crime comes from the mens rea, the mental act, the mental intent behind it. And so if you're acting intentionally, that's what's murder. If you're acting unintentionally or negligently or recklessly, that's what can reduce it down to like manslaughter. And so, yeah, I think this was a just verdict. I think that
I perceived him to be very.
I think the jury got it right.
He,
Awesome. Great question, Ed. Thanks,
into
Matt.
the nuts and bolts
Matthew.
of things.
Sorry, I called
so to
you Matt.
speak. He would want to know why we do this, or not just, okay, this is the way we do it, well, why do we do it this way, kind of thing.
Did you, from dealing with him, did you come to learn that he had previously worked as an engineer?
I did know that.
Did that seem to fit the way he approached the job?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there were still questions in our minds. I mean, if we polled
So, you
the
mentioned a few minutes ago that-
chat
that
here
part
and
of
tried to
the job
describe
is
how the
training
bullet went through, a lot of us would have
officers
different
interacting
opinions of
with
what we thought we
Yes, sir.
heard. I think a mock-up might have been useful of that, or some sort of demonstration.
Yes, sir.
Agreed.
Probably the biggest. And it's what we do.
And how did Aaron do with his interactions with the public?
He did well. You know, if there's anything that he could have been better at, it was that. Not that he did a bad job. Most people, whether it's policing, whatever it is that you're doing in life, they want to know that you are listening to them, that you care about them. And so
Someone got that fine.
everyone's built different. You know,
Is that in the courtroom?
not everybody's
Yes, it
a
was.
people person.
Wasn't
I
on my
didn't
side.
perceive
I'm
Aaron
sure it
to
wasn't
be
on your
a
side.
people person.
Not me.
Yeah, I saw it on the
So,
audio from the courtroom. Somebody's in trouble.
You know, maybe I perceived him to be a little nervous. I didn't know what it was, but I know that that was probably one of the areas that he struggled with is, you know, interacting with people. It was just the way, I believe it was just the way he's made.
The engineer there?
Yes.
So his manners, like
Was he compassionate towards the needs of others?
he struggled talking to people,
Absolutely.
like he was awkward or something. Is that what he's trying to say? He's a smart guy, but not really personable.
At the end of the 30-day phase,
Yeah, and you know, this is kind of tying back to the defense's cross-examination of the girl that he was in homeschool with, or that he had met that had also
Yes, sir. Throughout the
homeschooled, and talk about the
process,
social
there's,
issues that come from
one
homeschool
say
children getting
weekly meetings
into
with the
normal
supervisors.
society.
You know, hey, how are things this week? And we'll have a little meeting. They'll sign off. It's a weekly basis, and then at the end, you know, I would recommend either they could repeat the phase, you know, the entire phase, make recommendations from there, or, you know, recommend that they go on to the next phase.
and over the course of your duties as a field training officer, were there trainees that you recommended repeat the phase that you were training them on?
Yes.
What did you do with Aaron?
I recommended he go on to the next phase.
Did he do
Judge
so?
is gulping.
Yes, sir.
It's just-
Have you and Aaron kept in touch since you were his field training officer?
Yes, sir.
In fact, have you kept in touch with him after the event that we're here about today?
Yes, sir.
Did you talk to him soon after?
He's answered that.
What was his demeanor at that time?
He was, I mean, as you can imagine, he was pretty torn up. He was devastated. I remember that I was out somewhere with family and got a call from him, and he was pretty devastated.
Passwords.
Cross-examination.
Yes, just briefly. You just talked about him reaching out and keeping in touch with you.
I
What did
agree.
he tell you
I agree with that
about-
statement.
in this particular case?
He didn't give specifics, and I didn't want to ask. He basically said, hey, you know, I was involved in a shooting last night. I don't remember exactly what he said. I do recall not wanting to ask, just because I've been on scene and involved in certain things, and I never wanted to ask an officer, you know, about that right off the bat. I just didn't feel comfortable doing that, and I didn't know how he would react to it, so I kind of just was there to listen to whatever he said.
Okay, and over the last 3 years, have you guys talked
Also,
about
you never
how-
ask those questions because you might be
No, not
called
in
to
detail.
testify
I'd
about
asked
what
him
they
about
say
the case,
later.
how things were going, things like that.
We'll talk about anything.
I never
but that.
initiated that kind of stuff with him because So I figured he talked about it enough with his lawyers and family. Then whenever I would talk to him, it was kind of like a escape. You know, we did lunch a few times, I think. And
Do you think it will hurt
about
that,
meaningless
I mean,
things
this
for us and
individual,
whatnot.
this witness, almost gets choked
Do I
up
wanna know
talking about
what?
how he was torn up about the shooting. But
I have an idea of what happened,
but
I don't know
Aaron
the facts
didn't
of everything
on the
case
stand.
now.
Well, sure, because you weren't able to sit in here.
It-
Yeah, and I was going to point that out in a minute, is that the
No,
defense would be a fool to not put Aaron back on the stand here
Just
to essentially
what I
beg
saw
for his
on
life
TV.
and demonstrate
Right,
how
what's on
terrible he
TV
feels
is
about all
evidence,
this,
but
because
as
they
far as
didn't
what
do
the
that
actual
during
evidence
the
and facts of the case, you haven't had the
in
opportunity
guilt
to let
innocence
the jury
phase.
ask, correct?
You're correct, yes ma'am.
And there's been various witnesses that have testified, and you haven't had the benefit of hearing them, correct?
No, like you said, just what I saw on TV.
Okay. And when you talked about the training, so overall, you have supervised him and watched him as a police officer for a total of about 4 weeks, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then after that, he went on to be on the street as a patrol officer for another 18 months or so before this happened?
Yes ma'am, after the next phases of training, then he was cut loose to be, yes, an officer on the street.
Never observed his conduct, interactions with folks after your 4 weeks with him, right?
I believe that to be correct, yes ma'am.
And you said he's not a people person, that's just the way that he's made, right?
That's the way I perceived him. Like I said, I was with him for a month.
Not that long. Okay.
Yes ma'am.
And when we talked about the academy, you certainly went to the academy, correct?
Yes ma'am.
Right. And in the academy, there are different training scenarios that you go through in order to determine, just try to teach people what to do and what not to do, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times, those training scenarios that are in the academy are based off real life cases. And
Yes,
you know
ma'am.
that, right?
Yes.
And to be fair, typically it's when things went really bad or wrong, right?
In the academy, most of the scenarios are set out that way, yes.
Sure. Something happened and it went south, and how do we avoid that from happening again, right?
Yes ma'am.
Because in a controlled environment, that's the opportunity that we have. We're outside of the streets. We have all these field training officers, all these training supervisors. Let's do it the right way so that this thing never happens again, correct?
Yes, that's the goal.
That's the goal, right? Is to avoid anybody getting harmed, and that's both officers and the public, correct?
Yes ma'am.
Absolutely. And are you aware that this particular scenario that occurred on October the 12th of 2019 is now utilized in the Fort Worth Police Department Academy to train against this not ever happening again?
I was not aware of that, no.
I'm going to pass the lead, Sean.
Redirect.
Interesting. Is that a move they did to try to limit
In the academy,
liability in the civil case? Look at what we've changed.
What do you do if someone points a firearm at you?
Well, I
So
perceive
you
that
usually
to be
can't show
very
those
correct.
changes that are done after the fact to
Yeah.
prove that there was something wrong before the fact.
Right, so they're still on the hook.
Pass the witness.
Absolutely.
Nothing further, Honor.
May Detective Dugan be excused subject to any potential recall.
And no objection from the state.
You may.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Give you one more witness.
You gotta put Aaron on there now.
Donna Dean.
Donna Dean.
She come up this way.
Yes, that's right.
Are they calling his mom?
Dean, it's family. Yep, I think so. It's mom or grandma. I mean, that's. This might be a tough one to
Oh.
watch.
Missed opportunity. So you should instruct your witnesses that, hey, whenever you walk past him there, put your hand on his shoulder because it shows that human touch, that human element.
You think this will be the finale, an emotional appeal at the end?
Would you raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or affirm testimony.
I hope
given
not.
this
Well, I mean,
call,
I think that's
truth,
exactly
and
what
nothing
we're going
but
to
the
see,
truth, so help
but it better not be the finale. They need to put him on the stand here.
But then, under cross, couldn't he also be forced to answer the question that he would do this again in the next scenario, basically? Like, yeah, you feel bad now, but you would do it again,
Show the jury your
right?
name,
Because he said
I'm
yes,
Donna
basically,
Dean.
on direct, on his cross last time,
Are you-
during the evidentiary portion.
Aaron's mother.
Yes, I am.
Maybe, but
Would you
he
tell
could
the
at least
jury
beg
what your
for
immediate
time
family
here.
consists of, please?
My husband and I have been married for 46 years, and we have 6 children. The oldest is a daughter, and then 4 sons and a younger daughter. 2 sons are married, and we have 4 grandchildren.
Would you tell us the names of your children starting from oldest to youngest?
Ashley, Aaron, Andrew, Austin, Adam, Alyssa.
Lots of A's.
And are several of the kids here today?
Yes, they are.
And could you tell us your husband's name?
Larry.
Is he here today also?
He is, yes.
And have you all been present here for most of the trial?
Yes, we have been here for all of it.
So all the kids' names begin with A?
Yes, sir.
It's the same
That
as
probably
the
didn't happen by accident, did it?
victim's family.
No, the first 2 were kind of like, we like those names, and then after that, we just said, hey, this is the pattern, we'll just keep it up.
Have they ever been referred to as the A team?
6 A's usually, that's what they're referred to.
So where is Aaron in the chronology of children?
He's the second born.
So he has an older sister, Ashley, and then it was Aaron. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So how old is Aaron today?
Aaron is 38.
And was Aaron and the rest of your kids, were they all raised here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yes, yes.
And primarily where?
In Arlington.
Was Aaron born in Arlington?
Yes,
Pretty much lived in Arlington his entire life?
yes.
Where did the kids go to school?
We homeschooled our children all the way through high school.
So you were the school mom for 6 kids?
Yes, sir.
So were you a stay-at-home mom then?
Yes. I was formerly a nurse, but I was stayed home with my children once they were born.
Is that about the time the kids started getting to school age?
I need a label on your
window.
window
Yeah, a
so
little
everyone
bit
knows
earlier,
it's you,
but yeah.
Matthew.
So what
This is Matthew Harris.
What did Larry do?
For a number of years, he was self-employed with a computer business. His primary clients are small businesses. He's their IT person. He's done some other things after the economy crashed in 08 and 09. It took down several of our clients. And he did some private security work, and he still maintains some clients he's had for years.
So he's mostly retired, but still has a few good clients he takes
Yes.
care of?
Mm-hmm.
So what did the homeschooling consist of?
With homeschooling here in Texas, the parents are responsible for everything from
What was her name? Donna?
curriculum selection,
I think so.
planning, how to
Donna
implement
Dean.
the curriculum, daily scheduling, evaluating students, and bringing them to completion, or if somebody wants to enter their children into a classroom. But
So at some point, Aaron earned a high school degree,
he did.
and after high school, what did he decide to do?
He entered University of Texas at Arlington as an honors student in the engineering program.
And did he eventually earn a degree?
He did. He has a degree, a bachelor's degree in physics, and it's a minor in engineering.
And then he went to work at the engineering field?
Yes, he did. He actually worked in engineering some while he was a student.
At some point, he decided to change careers.
He did.
He decided to become a police officer.
Yes, sir.
Do you know why he did that?
He told us he wanted to do it because he wanted to make a difference in people's lives and to help people.
So how did the kids treat each other growing up?
Really, they all got along pretty well. There's some normal sibling rivalry. But there was a lot
Hey,
of...
Daniel, this was his
a lot
first
of
year on
love
his
and
own
compassion.
as a law enforcement officer. He was 1 year out from
And I
having
like to
a
dote on
full-time
the younger
observer
sister,
with him.
who's 10 years younger. When she was about 2 or so, he liked to put her down for her afternoon nap, and he'd go See, if I put her down, I'd let her pick one or two of her stuffed animals or something, but Aaron would let her pick a whole selection of them and bring them to bed.
So what's that younger sister's name?
Alyssa.
And she's here with us?
Yes, she is.
Right. So, what kind of guy is Aaron?
He's smart. He's a hard worker. He definitely wants to help people, and he's very faithful in carrying out his responsibilities. He's very industrious, often, and has a lot of ingenuity.
Does he have the ability to follow rules?
Yes, sir. He was a good rule follower.
Oh, I know where they're going with it now. I see
Probation.
it.
Probation.
Yes,
Probation.
I mean, it's, children
Yep.
have to be corrected, but Aaron didn't break rules or anything as a young person or a teenager.
How does he deal with other people? How is he around other folks?
Is
He enjoys talking to people.
it possible that he could get a sentence
He has
that's
a lot
entirely
of
probation?
wide-ranging interests.
It is possible. I think
so
if he gets less
oftentimes
than
he
10 years
has
and he
conversations
goes to
with
the
people
jury
from
to
all
ask them
walks
to
of
consider
life.
probation, they can give him
Testimony
probation
about
here.
he's a musician. He
And
loves
it's
history.
entirely the jury's decision
He's
in this trial, or
well-read,
will the judge be able to make any
a variety of topics,
modifications?
including many literature.
If he elects
topics,
it, he can elect the jury to
classic
decide
literature.
that
So
and
he
ask
can
them to
converse
consider
on many
probation.
topics and enjoys that. With talking with people and
It is possible. He
doing
may not
projects with
see a day
people.
inside jail
Wow.
other
How
than what
does
he's
he
already
help other
seen.
people?
Over the years, he's when he was younger, when he was high school or college, I think it was maybe in college, he was several times he would house sit for some friends when they were gone, different friends, varying friends, and he had some interesting experiences. He grew up, we had a cat, and then some of these friends had cats and dogs and fish and chickens, and he did yard work typically. One friend was a widow lady and needed a lot of help around her place. She had a place with a, not acreage, but a very large yard, and it needed some work, and Aaron would often go over and help do the yard work or make repairs.
When he was growing up, did he have any particular hobbies?
This is his mom right now on the stand.
Yes. He loved to build with any kind of the construction toys that kids play with, Legos and Connects. A lot of kids like to build their Lego model, as it pictures, and then they set it on a shelf, and that's great. They've got a great display. Aaron's idea was you'd build it, and he looks at it and say, "I wonder what happens if," And then he always loved airplanes, aircraft, and one day as he was getting into probably, I'm going to guess about the 9th grade when he did geometry, 8th or 9th grade, and I couldn't figure out where he was, and I looked, and he was in the garage, and he had this big,
sentencing,
a lot of paper
whether he
back
feels
there.
like it's too
And he
harsh,
was out
too
there
light.
measuring
It's up to
everything.
the
He
jury
said,
here,
I just
but
figured out how to make the angles on the airplane, on the wings, correct.
Do we lose
And I
you?
know how to make these wings
Nope,
right.
I'm here.
So,
Cameras, okay.
yeah.
Did he enjoy woodworking?
Yes, he did. He started that. The first thing I remember he did was, he was probably about 12. I'm not really certain. It's just very simple. He took two almost like sticks
There we
of
go.
wood,
And you're back.
but kind of cut on them some and notched them.
yeah,
and
so
then glued them
the,
to form
the,
a
the jury, I
cross.
think, has a
And on it
minimum
he
here
wrote,
of 2
"Jesus
years
loves
sentence.
you."
Now, whether he
And gave it
serves
to me.
any time in jail
And,
for it,
I still
that's a
have it on
different
my dresser at
question.
home.
If you tell me about a couple of things he did for other folks while he was in high school and college.
Yes. When he was in college, especially, because he lived at home, but he was obviously on the campus most of the time, most of the days.
So he spent his days in
And
the
a lot of times
library,
he would
right?
eat
Is that what we
at
heard?
fast food places or whatever. And on several occasions, he encountered people who were in need or were homeless, and he would help them. The first incident that I remember, I think it was in his freshman year of college, and they start school in August, where it's very hot here. And he was at a fast food place up in, by UTA.
I'm
at
gonna
the-
object, Your Honor. Can I take this witness on board our?
Yes,
Ma'am, how do you know about what happened at UTA? Did the defendant tell you?
He told me.
I'm gonna object, Your Honor, to hearsay.
sustained.
Wow.
Yep.
Were there occasions where you observed him helping other folks?
Certainly there were,
I just can't think
besides
of it.
the friends that I told you about, there was one homeless man in particular that he helped, and I know he helped him because he gave the man our home phone number. Back then, people didn't use their cell phones except for emergencies. And one day I got a phone call, and it was from the city jail, and wanted to know if I would take a call from, I don't remember what his name was now. It's been 20 years ago. But it was the same person that Aaron had encountered. And this man was going to be released, and he needed some help. He didn't know where to go, and anyway, various things happened. We had contact with him off and on, and ended up suggesting that Aaron put him in contact with the Union Gospel Mission here in Fort Worth for some ongoing help.
So is that typical of the kind of things that?
Yes, yes. And one time, too, another time when I was present, our church had a game night on a Friday evening, and we had food and everything, and we cleaned up, and a car pulls up with a man and woman and I think 2 children, I don't remember. And they said that they were needing food and money, and Aaron immediately began getting the food that we had just packed up, getting food out to help them and that kind of thing.
If the jury were to see fit to give Aaron a probated sentence, would Aaron be able to follow the rules that the Judge Gallagher gives him, no matter what they are?
Absolutely. He's had to follow bond rules for the last 3 years, which I think there's a fair amount of similarity. I noticed that one of the conditions is they have to have employment. And when Aaron, well, obviously he lost his job for the police department, and he needed to try to find work. And he's began working for a friend who had a business cleaning vina hoods on restaurants, but this was just before COVID. When COVID hit, all the restaurants closed down, so he hadn't had a job. And throughout that time with COVID, there was some dead time in there when nobody could work because businesses were all closed. But then he would begin to apply, see a lot of agencies, I'll call them, I don't know, people who help placement services. And I think the way some of those work is they'll do a basic background, and then they place somebody, and then they'll do a more thorough background check. So Aaron was placed into, I have no idea how many jobs, with a whole variety of different things. And then when the full background check would come and they realized he was under indictment, they would say, we can't keep you working here. And I know at least one of them, the supervisor, particularly said, I'm going to really I really want you to work here. You're a great worker, and we really need you. But his company wouldn't let him stay on. So I'm confident that he would find work to do that. And
Just listed all the times that he wasn't able to work as evidence for him being able to get a job.
He has.
That was not helpful at all.
He's in the process of, he's got some Suburban that's got some engine work that needs to be done, and he's got some projects going on at my house and a couple of other family members' houses with some repairs and upgrades and so on, in addition to the work he's been doing.
Cross-examination.
Ma'am,
Yes, sir.
is there a much worse pain for a mother to feel than to outlive one of her children?
I don't know, because I've not outlived one of my children.
But can you imagine?
Obviously, what happened in this situation was a very tragic thing.
No, ma'am. But isn't that one of the greatest pains that a mother can feel, is to outlive one of her children?
Certainly.
And how many brothers and sisters does the defendant have?
He has 2 sisters and 3 brothers.
2 sisters and 3 brothers. And ever since October 2019, those 2 sisters and those 3 brothers have been able to hug the defendant whenever they wanted. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And you've been able to hug the defendant whenever you wanted. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And
Because
his
he hasn't
father
been in
been able
custody,
to hug
right?
the defendant whenever he wanted. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And you know, you've been sitting here for 2 weeks, right?
Yes, sir.
And you know that there's a lot of people here who, after October 12, 2019, had a very important person in their life that they'll never be able to talk to again. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
We'll pass the witness.
Read the record.
Ms. Dean, you were here yesterday in the courthouse, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you were here when the jury reached its verdict,
Yes, sir.
and then we recessed for the evening?
Mhm.
And then did you walk from the courthouse to a car that was parked somewhere downtown?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, to this line of questioning that we approach.
No, I'm gonna let him go.
I bet she was harassed.
Yes, my husband went to pick up the car and picked me up.
Okay. Did he pick you up down here next to the courthouse?
Yes,
Were there other members of the family present?
yes.
And
That's rare for
was
the
there
judge not to let them
incident that
approach
occurred
them.
out by the street?
There were a lot of people yelling
Yelling at who?
yelling at my family.
What kind of things were they yelling at?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, to hearsay.
Sustained.
Were the things they were yelling at you true?
No.
Were they accusations?
Yes.
What were they?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, again to hearsay.
Can't get that in.
Judge, we're not offering it because it's true, we're offering it because it was said.
Then I would object to relevance.
Understand the objection sustained.
Was it a tense situation?
Yes.
Were those people being kind to you?
No.
Did you feel safe?
Only because there were a lot of sheriff's deputies around.
Was it a very bad situation?
Yes.
Are you concerned about it going forward?
Yes.
We pass the witness.
Mr. Smith?
You've seen Atatiana Jefferson's siblings in this courtroom, haven't you?
Yes.
It wasn't the Tatiana siblings, these people outside yelling at you, was it?
I don't really know who it was.
Are you saying it was them? In the
There
second
were a
row?
lot of people out there hollering. I have no idea who those people were.
So you think it could have been them yelling at you?
And Judge,
I don't
for the
know.
record, we're not saying it was.
We understand.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Gill?
She's done.
Nothing further, Judge.
May Ms. Dean be excused subject to any potential recall.
She may.
No
See if
objection.
she
Thank you, ma'am.
walks by her son.
Yeah, I think that the state should have asked her here, what do you think that this jury should do? What punishment do you think is just? And then use that to hammer home that, you know, that very little is all they think that her life was worth. I think they missed an opportunity.
Basically, if it was your daughter, what would you want type thing.
50%.
Yep.
I believe Mr. Mata has graced us with his presence. We ask that he be sworn in and put under the rule.
Is there a Mr. Mata in the courtroom?
We got him. We're kicking him out.
You stand right there at the rail for me, please, sir. Raise your right hand for me.
What did he do?
You solemnly swear or affirm testimony given this cause to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I don't know what this is
Hey,
about.
Judge, may we approach?
I don't understand what's going on.
I'm swearing you in as a witness.
Under
So.
what authority, sir?
Oh, we've got a soft set. We're going to show you some authority here in just a minute.
Yep.
When you're in the judge's courtroom, he is the authority. Okay, I realize he just doesn't want to be kicked out. This is a gentleman I think that the defense tried to have sworn in previously for something, right? Whether it was something he posted online, whether he
Everyone may be seated.
was
Mr.
breaking a
Mata,
rule.
Is your name Manuel Mata?
Yes, sir.
Your date of birth is 7/8 of 1980?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have issued you an oath to testify truthfully. Are you going to take that oath?
I have a question, sir.
No. Are you going to take that oath?
No.
All right. You are on bond on some cases, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Those bonds are being declared insufficient, Sheriff.
What, sir?
Oh my goodness.
I need my lawyer present, sir.
We will get
You
your lawyer.
question me without a lawyer present. And I don't know what y'all are doing. I don't know what's going on. For what?
This is
For what?
wild.
I asked him a question.
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't have no. I don't
All
have
right,
no
Scott,
knowledge
did you
of
see
this
that
case.
coming?
No.
I just wanted to know who.
I thought he was gonna
asking
get kicked
for me to be sworn in. The DA, the defense, the judge. Who's asking it? Those are questions I need answers. If you're gonna remote me, you ain't gotta be aggressive when you do.
Wow.
Let me see the lawyers.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What just happened? I don't know if it was
that
death
was
threats
insane.
online. He is the judge. Here's what we had. We've got previously, all we knew is that the defense, they stood up and they said, we think this guy, didn't even catch his name. Did you guys catch his name? I'll have to go look.
Mata.
Mata, yeah, the last name was Mata. We think sorry, I'm trying to remove the pinned message. We think he's in the courtroom and we think he should be sworn as a witness. So clearly he's done something they think, I doubt they're actually going to call him as a witness, right? They're just using the rule to get him out of the courtroom. So maybe he's an agitator or there's been a problem before or something like that. So they said, we think he's in the courtroom, and the judge asked for him and he wasn't there. He had left already, I assume, because he'd probably been there before. And so the defense turns around and they said, who are you? Right? And this guy gave his name and he's like, well, we want you sworn under. And it was a completely different dude. Then this guy's back. Defense, obviously somebody let him know that he was there. He was sitting right behind the defense table. He was like front row, front and center, which is a bold move, knowing that they're targeting him to kick him out. But then he goes all you don't have the right with the judge. That is crazy. Matthew, what's your take?
Well, so whenever you're on bond, like what he is, from his statement just a moment ago, and he confirmed his date of birth, whenever you're on bond, there are certain things that you're required to do, and you have to comply with court process. You have to allow police to enter your home. You have to take drug tests. You have to check in. And so whenever he said, I'm not going to take the oath, I'm not going to testify truthfully in court, the judge said, oh, fine, then your bonds are insufficient. Take him into custody. And that's what happened. I've never seen that before. Wow.
That is crazy. That was unbelievable. That's going to go in the highlight reel for sure. I don't think he was expecting that too. I mean, he's obviously with bond. He's been in the legal system before, right?
Yeah.
He's
Under
no
what
stranger.
authority?
Yeah. Show me in lawful law, right? where you have the authority
grounds.
to.
What grounds?
And what was it he said? He said, I deem your bond insufficient.
Yep.
Why did he say that? Why did he not? Because there's no other charge, or the judge has the authority to do that at any time.
I've never heard that before. I've never seen that happen before. Presumably, though, that it may have been a violation of a bond condition. That's my only speculation that I have. And so by him refusing to give the oath and having confirmed that he was going to be placed under the rule, but he would not take the oath to testify truthfully, the judge says, all right, well, then I don't think that whatever bond you have right now is sufficient. And so we're going to have another bond hearing.
Yeah. He said lawyer, right? After he was already said to be taken in custody, he objected. It wasn't like he's a juvenile. Okay, they don't need to get permission to question him, right? Was he right in saying you can't do this without my lawyer present?
No, because he's in court. They're not asking him any questions right now that would be substantive. That may have followed. That may have been the next step, would be to ask some of those questions that he should have an attorney present for, that could be incriminating, because we have no idea what the subject matter was going to be. And so he should have said, yes, I will take that oath, and yes, I will testify truthfully. And then as soon as they ask questions that might be incriminating, I'd like an attorney.
Wow. And this was the defense that pulled him up. So let's see, Kimberly, you said outstanding means it hasn't been paid. No, the bond has been paid. That's why he's out. If he hadn't paid the bond, he would still be in custody, right? If he hadn't bonded out. But the judge is saying he's deeming that the bond he has paid not being sufficient, meaning it's not a high enough bond to guarantee you'll be coming back when you have a court date, basically, right? And so they took him back in custody. He'll get another bond hearing, and that number is going to be a little higher.
And it may only be $1 higher.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Crazy. We'll have to see if we can find that bond hearing.
Yes.
Does Texas publicize their initial appearances?
They do through, let's see, I think if you go through the Tarrant County website, they probably have a link to their magistrate court who would probably handle those bond hearings.
We'll have to watch for that. Ashley says, I'm so confused. Why is this judge swearing in disruptive members of the gallery as witnesses? Is that the only way he can keep them out of the courtroom? Yes, I believe. He can't just kick people out because he doesn't like them, right? Because it's a public facility. It's a public building. He does control the time, place, and manner type thing. He has more control over that area than, say, like a sidewalk on the front of the street. It reminds me of Judge Manning and stay out of Folsom County type of thing. Wow, this is bizarre. Might this be?
What I think is crazy here, though, is that they keep calling people up almost as a weapon to swear people in just to kick them out. And you're not supposed to do that. You have to have a good faith basis in order to identify them as a potential witness in order to swear them in. And it seems like it's being used as a weapon here.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. We know that Attorney Lee Merritt, was sworn in that way. We know the family member of Leon, or a relative of Zion, was sworn in for doing hand gestures, maybe possibly coaching from the gallery. We've had a couple other ones as well. This judge is not afraid to kick people out. Might this be a defense strategy since witness testimony for sentencing is weak? I don't see it as a defense strategy. I think they might say they're legitimately concerned about disorder if the sentence comes back or something. What do you think?
Maybe not for a mistrial or anything, but just trying to garner some sort of support for the defendant here of, look, this is everyone treating him badly. And so he's already, going to be a pariah in the community. So why are you going to force him to stick around here under probation? Just let him do a couple of days and then let him go. Let's get him out of here. I don't know what the purpose is.
Yeah, so he's going to jail, right? Once you go through that door and get cuffed, it ends up in jail. There's no other exit on the backside that doesn't just let out the back of the building. So he will go back to court. He will go back to jail, and then he'll have an appearance before a magistrate for a bond. I think exactly what the judge said. Marie says, I think that dude had a right to legal representation, an ethical opinion, perhaps. Yes, he has a right to legal representation, but I think the judge was in the right as well. I mean, it's within his authority. That's not something that's going to get thrown out, I don't think. Oh, man, we need to keep a watch for what, Richard? Did he do something from the call? We'll have to search, Abby. There may be something on social media. There may be some postings that are said, or maybe he possibly violated or is calling for people to break the law or something like that. There's got to be something out there. There's no way the defense is just looking at everybody that they don't like in the gallery and saying, you out, we don't like you. Do you think, Matthew, that this will have any impact on the underlying tension behind this case? And what effect do you think? Is this going to raise it or lower it?
Well, that's a tough one. I think this probably helps the defendant more than anything. And no, I'm going to take that back. I think it probably helps the prosecution more than anything, because the more you raise this tension here, I think that the more likely the jury is to feel compelled to take a harsher action on him, because they're going to feel more of that community pressure.
Could this cause a mistrial? I would say no. Am I correct in that? The decision is already done as far as guilt goes. And I don't think you can have a mistrial well, I guess you could have a mistrial if something was done inappropriately during the sentencing phase, but I don't think this would rise to that level, right?
I don't think we're near mistrial here, no.
We need instant replay. Tomorrow we'll have instant replay. We'll save this. We'll go back. We'll have it for sure. This is bizarre.
Scott, in chat, it looks like Kolivar here may have pulled up some law over a few different chats.
Okay.
If you scroll
let me
back
go
up
back.
to, let's see, he starts with provided that whenever, a few more above that.
There we go. This one here.
Yep.
Do you want to read it and I'll click through?
Yeah. Provided that whenever during the course of the action, the judge or magistrate whose court such action is pending finds that the bond is defective, excessive, or insufficient in amount, or that the sureties, if any, are not acceptable, or for any other good insufficient cause, such judge or magistrate may, either in term, time, or in vacation, order the accused to be rearrested and require the accused to give another bond in such amount as the judge or magistrate may deem proper. So the message that Cullivar had just above the beginning of that said that he found that this defendant, Mr. Mata, had a case in front of this judge, and so this judge is the one who would set that bond amount.
Okay, so it has to be that judge, right? It has to be him.
He's before that
going
judge,
back
and
to
he
face
found
the
that to
same
be
judge.
insufficient.
Wow. That's crazy. I wonder, now I've got to dig into that history and see what background. There's obviously something between this judge and this individual, right? Or do you think this is the first? There's some bad blood.
Maybe not bad blood, but just more like, hey, dude, you know that I'm still having to decide your case here. You're only out of jail because I agreed to give you bond here, and now you're going to come in here acting a fool.
We're getting
and then
video
refuse
back.
to take the oath.
Hang on just one second. I'm going to bring it in full screen. Sorry. I'll bring you back here in just one second, Matthew. Okay, I've got your audio, Matthew, so you can talk if you want to, but we're just going to
It looks
listen
like
for
they're
a
trying
hot
to bring
mic.
the jury back in now with everyone standing. You know, this is probably a good break here in the middle. I do have to cut out. I've got to get back to making a couple of client phone calls.
Well, sounds good, Matthew. Thanks. I'm glad you could be here for that part. that was amazing. I will just say thank you. Thank you so much for being here. You've been amazing. Matthew Harris Law, resident lawyer in Texas and friend of the program. Thank you so much. We'll catch you later.
Everyone may be seated. Mr. Gill, who do you have next?
Adam Dean.
Adam Dean.
Wow. First of all, a big shout out to Matthew. He's amazing. It's so nice to have his expertise and just level-headedness and an understanding of the law. He's a sovereign citizen. I'm sure it's spicy interaction.
This cause will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
We're back. This is regular.
Thank you, sir. Have a seat.
This is Adam Dean. This is going to be a brother of Aaron.
Hey, Adam, how old of a man are you?
I am 30 years old.
You have a family?
Yes, sir.
So
I
younger
do.
brother.
What does your family consist of?
I have a wife, and I have 2 born children and 1 more on the way.
What kind of work do you do?
Currently, I am employed as a recruiter or a headhunter. I got into that recently, and I'm excited about it.
Okay, so what does a recruiter or headhunter do?
Basically, we are interested primarily in getting 2 parties to speak to each other. We go
Matthew's
out and
amazing.
We find
Glad he could join
individuals
us.
we consider candidates, people with a marketable skill set, and we go and look for companies that would be interested in that background skill set, and we are primarily interested in getting them to sit down and talk. And
It
see
looked
if
like he
it's
was
a good
wearing
match for
like a
both.
Jewish yarmulke just for a second. It might just be his hairstyle.
Yes, sir. I'm enjoying it very much.
Did anyone else see that?
Related to Aaron over here to my right?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
sir,
just his
I
hair.
am. He is my
I was
older
wrong.
brother.
Okay. Approximately how many years apart are the 2 of you?
There's about 8 between us.
Thank you, Matthew.
Grew up
Anytime.
in the same house?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Despite the 8-year age difference, were you pretty close?
Yes, sir. We were very close. Obviously, when I was younger, I don't remember some of the things. I do remember that he would help us with a variety of projects. I actually remember, as odd as it sounds, taking a bath with him at one point somewhere in my very early childhood.
We went there.
What
Wow.
kind of projects would he help you with?
Well, as you've heard already, he was quite the engineer, quite the mechanic, and he constructed a number of Lego and Connects and other kinds of objects. And
I was about to say maybe he's a Lego hair model, but then he said Lego, so I can't say that.
And he would help me with, and my siblings with those kinds of things as well.
Was he a fun brother to grow up with?
He was. We had a number of adventures together, a number of enjoyable activities, as well as the occasional headbutting.
Ed, as the brother's giving some background here, no, this Matta guy was not related at all to this crime. There's no chance he's going to be called as a witness. But they used that as a tool to get him kicked out. And in the process, he got belligerent. The judge verified his identity.
A man who is
I recognized him as someone who has business before the judge pending, and ruled that his bond was insufficient and took him into custody.
A man who cares about honor and wanting to do the right thing.
Debbie, a headhunter is someone who tries to fill job openings in return for a commission, a finder's
fee. He is very
fee.
analytical, should come as no surprise to you.
So they match up employers that have a job opening with employees that are looking for a job, and they take a cut in the middle for
make fun
matching
of him a little
up.
bit for being a little too self-serious occasionally, but he has
Matthew, thank you once again. Appreciate you, man.
Humor. He can speak to people. He's very interested in a number of different areas. We've already heard some of those kinds of things. He enjoys learning about those things. He is self-taught in many of the areas you have heard described.
You described that you have a couple of kids, a couple of born kids.
Yes, sir. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son.
Do they know Aaron?
Yes, they do, very well. Recently, I got into weightlifting, and again, as the engineer, I knew that Aaron was the one who I would call to help me
probably very
build
recently.
a weight rack in my bedroom. And during his time there, he began to interact with, especially at that time, my son had not been born yet, and he interacted with my daughter, and she is very particular about who she likes, who she lets hold her or talk to her. And just after a couple of weeks of being there and engaging in that, she began to ask when Uncle Aaron would come next, when the next time she could see him was.
Are you familiar with his work with the children's choir?
Yes, sir, I am.
Describe that to the jury, please.
So, as you have heard, of course, he grew up in that program, in the high school program. You heard, of course, earlier from Mrs. Armstrong, and he led the children's choir that they did occasionally when Mr. Armstrong needed him to. He was very good at providing direction for those kinds of things, helping the younger ones learn and grow and be able to engage in the activities they need to.
Yeah, I couldn't have picked a better time to have Matthew on board to explain the bizarreness of that scenario.
Yes, something he has to get done.
Well, I would say he is very interested in figuring out what he's got in front of him. He wants to make a plan. He wants to understand the nature of the thing. He will often set about making drawings or spending a good amount of time planning, calculating, trying to figure out the best way to go about that. And then he throws himself wholeheartedly into it. If he needs to learn something, if he doesn't know, he will go and find someone or find a source that he can learn from to understand what it is that he needs to do and continue forward with.
Just needs a tall black felt hat. He'll be good, right?
You've known him throughout his adulthood. Has he ever been convicted of any?
That'd be awesome, Matthew. Can't wait to look at that again myself.
No, sir.
Is he a hard-working guy?
Very much so.
Is he a creative guy?
Very much so, yes, sir. There are numerous occasions. In fact, this weightlifting rack that I've spoken of,
he's just shilling weightlifting. That's what he's doing.
We actually bought one off of Amazon, and
can we see the link?
Modified it for its use in my bedroom with a less amount of space than you would traditionally use. Aaron was the one who took care of all of that, figured it all out.
The he were to be placed on probation, do you have an opinion as to whether or not he'd be able to follow any rules that Judge Gallagher would set out for him?
Absolutely. I have no doubt that there would be no difficulty whatsoever in following those. He has followed faithfully the bond rules that have been set for him throughout my time.
So if there was a
knowing
bond
him
rule, he
in
was arrested,
interactions with other
probably immediately bonded out.
organizations, hierarchies where
A
there were
couple hours
rules.
later. Time served is
Aaron
probably less than
not the
24
one
hours,
who goes
by my guess.
and skirts around the rules or figures out how he can get what he wants to do, thinking that he's above them or going to go do his own thing regardless.
We pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
May Mr. Dean be excused subject to any potential recall.
You may.
No objection from the state.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see how many more we get here. He's got a lot of family members.
Mr. Gill.
Alyssa Dean.
Alyssa Dean.
So there was some contact as she rounded the corner there. It's intentional that they walk up there behind him, as we heard from Matthew. Just look, I'm following Twitter on this activist. I guess it's an activist, Manuel Meta.
Solemnly swear or affirm testimony given this cause to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Have a seat right here.
Tell us your name, please.
Alyssa Dean.
And are you Aaron's younger sister?
I am.
Did you hear your mom testify a few minutes ago?
Yes.
Are you the younger sister that Aaron spoiled?
And it froze.
How are you occupied on board?
I am a police officer.
Are you a
Really?
police
I didn't know she was a
officer
police
for
officer.
one of
This
the
is new.
departments here in the Metroplex?
Yes, I work here in DFW.
And like the rest of the family, were you raised here in the Arlington area,
I was.
homeschooled?
Yes.
How much younger than Aaron are you?
10 years.
But despite that, did you have a
I
close
think it does make a
relationship
difference.
growing up?
It's the purpose
Yes.
of this
So my mom's
this
already
phase
told
of the
you the story
trial.
about him being willing to get me whatever stuffed animal I wanted when I napped, which she said I was 2, but that continued further into my childhood than that. I remember, because I can remember it, I remember being upset that I had to go take a nap while the rest of my siblings got to play, and so to console me, Aaron would bring me, again, whatever stuffed animal, however many I wanted for my nap time. I also remember in the summer we would go see my grandparents who lived in Reno every year. And they had property and they had horses, and Aaron would take me horseback riding every year when we were out there.
So she's a current Dallas-Fort Worth police officer.
Yes.
Is that what she said?
How long have you been a police
Or a-
officer?
7 years.
Okay,
So,
wow.
were you actually a police officer before Aaron?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
looking up Manuel right now, just trying to get some data
Yes.
on him. Talk about a crazy day with the Sarah Boone letter. It's been nuts.
What kind of guy is Aaron?
Hardworking, humble, caring. You've heard already from my family that he has a lot of projects, and he does. He has a lot of different interests and likes to do a lot of things. He's actually been in the process of helping me remodel my bathroom at my house, which is something he took on himself to do, and has ripped it down to studs, and we're in the process of rebuilding it.
You said and gave us an example of how he's hard working. You said he was humble also. Describe that to us.
I remember conversations when Aaron was going through the academy. Of course, I had already been through my academy by that time. I was an officer. And awareness that he was tackling a new field. It was very different from what he had done before. And that he did not know everything, and he knew he didn't know everything. And he was eager to learn every day. He was eager to get in there.
Okay, this
and
Manuel
learn what it was
Mata
about.
guy is a bit of a piece of work. Let's see. Yes,
Aaron has ability to follow rules?
let me see if I can pull up the
Yes.
video really quickly for you.
Does he follow society's rules?
Absolutely.
As a component of the criminal justice system, do you feel like he'd be able to follow rules that
Why is the feed buffering? Are we having trouble?
Absolutely. My family's already referred that he's, of course, followed his bond conditions for the last 3 years. But he would have no desire not to. I mean, he lives his life according to those rules anyway. That wouldn't be an issue for him.
you understand that?
Okay, we're having internet issues. Can anybody hear me?
Also that Aaron is done being a police officer.
I do.
Okay. I don't know why
Cross-examination.
this is working here.
You've
You're
had
fine?
your brother,
Okay.
and you just talked about it, the last 3 years or so, he's been helping you around the house. You've been able to see him, right?
Yes.
And you've been able to talk to him,
Yes.
hug him.
Yes.
In fact, you just touched him on the shoulder when you walked in.
I
You can
did.
still touch him with your hands.
I can.
And you know that's not something that this family over here to my left, the second row right here, do you know Darius Carr? You don't know him, right?
But I saw him speak earlier.
Sure, but you don't know him.
I do not know.
And you don't know Ashley.
I do not.
And you don't know Amber, who's in the hospital.
No.
And you know, though, that they don't get that same opportunity.
I do know.
And they will never get to do that. You know that?
I do know it.
And as far as what we talked a little bit earlier about this with another family member, you also grew up in a very religious family, correct?
Yes.
And honor and follow the teachings of the Bible, correct?
Yes.
And you're familiar with the numerous Bible verses that deal with an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
So you're doing the same line of
Familiar with
questioning.
this, correct?
Yes.
Old Testament, New Testament, both.
Yes.
All right. When you described earlier about your brother being humble and caring, you love him, correct?
Yes.
Y'all seem like you are very, very close.
We are very close.
And both of you guys are the only 2 of the 6 siblings that went into law enforcement yourself. Did he do that because of you?
Actually, most of my siblings have had an interest in law enforcement at one time or another. We're just the only 2 who ended up pursuing it.
And so, did he go into it because of you?
No.
Okay. And so both you guys were police officers at one point.
Yes.
You heard him testify this week, right?
Yes.
And you heard him grade himself as far as his performance out there, right?
I did.
And he gave himself a B.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Sorry, it's just because you're
Okay.
saying
So yes.
And the grade that he gave, the B grade, do you feel like that's a humble grade to give when a life is lost?
I think it is very hard to give a grade when you're not given a rubric to grade by.
Sure.
A rubric to grade by. Rubric.
She's like, never heard of that word before.
So do you agree with the grade of B then?
This is
Like I
younger
said,
sister, yes.
If you'll let me finish my question.
I'm sorry.
It's just because we can't interrupt each other, and I've got to finish before you answer, vice versa. So do you agree that with your brother then for the grade of B, with his performance out there at the scene?
Like I said, without being given some kind of grading tool to use, I can't agree with that. I mean, all tests have to be given some kind of criteria to grade them by, correct?
Sure, and so when Dale gave the A to F, he gave the grade B, and you don't disagree with that grade?
Again, without defining what an A and a B and a C would be. I mean, any test you take, someone has to grade that test based on some example, right? You can't just make up a grade. So without being given that grading scale, I can't agree or disagree.
Okay, so in your mind, there's nothing that he should have done any better out there? Yes or no? Yes?
In my mind, no.
There's nothing he could have done any better out there?
No.
I'm going to pass the witness.
Mr. Gill?
Alyssa, you know as a police officer that every time you show up for shift, there's a possibility that something bad is going to happen that evening, right?
I do.
You know that officers get killed and injured all the time in the United States of America, isn't that right?
Yes, there were 2 officers killed just this week in Bay St. Louis.
What kind of call were they on?
I believe it was
I object. This is now outside the scope. It's not relevant.
It's just a
Okay. I've got a video from.
I
from Fort Worth Weekly, where they interviewed this Mata guy that just got kicked out of court.
They train use of force in your
And
academy?
it's a little
Yes,
bizarre.
very extensively.
Were you trained if you faced a deadly threat? Did you answer that deadly threat with deadly force?
Yes.
Would you be surprised if any other police department across the United States trained any differently?
I would be shocked if anyone trained any differently.
Play it, says Clover. Let me pull this up. We're just gonna grab some of this. We're not gonna stick with it
Split-second
very long.
decisions.
We pass the witness.
Ms. Dean?
Do you disagree with the jury's verdict?
City's Manuel Mata, a local government watchdog and citizen journalist. So you're known for live
You asked if I
streaming
disagree?
police misconduct. You were the first person ever
As
to
a
live
sister,
stream a
yes.
board meeting at the Tarrant Appraisal District.
Mr. Gill?
What made you want to become a citizen journalist?
Ms. Dean, being
I guess
excused,
being
subject
lied
to
on
potential
and
No objection by the state.
done wrong by the Fort Worth Police Department.
So the
to
gentleman on
where
the right there
everybody was against
is
me.
Mata.
So I agreed to a plea deal that I didn't truly understand to get out and to investigate what happened to me. And after I did, that's why I don't trust the whole court system. So I took myself to
We do.
So defense just rested.
our law library and studied about everything that they could arrest you for. I was gonna film them in traffic stops, so I had to make sure I knew what they could use as far as jaywalking, pedestrian walking in the roadway, and what it actually meant. Not
Okay, so there's more of that. There's more of that to come. We've got so much stuff to talk about today. Let's see.
Okay, remind you that you're still on your.
Ashley Carr is back up. Who's Ashley? Okay, this is Ashley. This is Zion's
Ms. Dean?
And permission.
aunt.
I believe it's already been admitted. Stacy's at 91.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if it's aunt or mom.
All right. Ashley, you're the same Ashley Carr that testified during the guilt innocence phase. Is that right?
Correct.
Now here to testify in the punishment phase, correct?
Yeah, we'll wait till the break for the rest of it.
Okay. So I want to talk to you just a little bit about the relationship of this young man and Atatiana that we see in Stacy's 91, okay?
Mhm.
All right. Tell me, I know now, and maybe you've always been, are you kind of like a second mom to Zion?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
My sister Amber was the first one of us
Judge,
to.
I'm sorry, but we're going to have to object. This is outside the scope of this hearing.
Response?
I believe this is a punishment phase, so they're about to ask you questions regarding the impact that it's had on, now that Atatiana's no longer here, her relationship.
Let's get to that then, okay?
This is a rebuttal, yes.
And so
Which means we're almost done.
about Amber had the first.
We should have a sentence
so
tonight.
my
I'm
sister
thinking.
Amber, out of all four of us, is the first one to have children. So Zion was our first nephew. Yes, she did birth him, but he was our baby. I was the aunt that bought things. Tay was the aunt that played with the things that I bought.
Okay. And so when
That's funny.
Tatiana, was
I
she
bought it.
like
She
a
got
second mom
she got all the
to
toys. I
them?
paid for them.
Yes, as well. So he really had three moms.
Okay.
Hmm.
And you said she's the one that would actually play with them.
No,
Would
Tag, this is not the
also
same lady.
make sure that he followed
That lady was
certain
not
chores,
family.
responsibilities, things like that, especially when she was living there with them.
Yes, she believed that, structure is needed for children so that they can feel safe and know that, what's coming next. She had made him a schedule of what you're supposed to do in the morning and had it on the refrigerator.
Now that
Yes.
They're really not liking this. All right, so let's see where we're at. Ed says, do you think the jury will settle on a number in an hour or so? In other words, how recklessly should I drive home at 5:30? I think it could be quick. I think there's much more of a potential for this jury to have a quick verdict on, or a quick decision on the sentencing than on the verdict. Fire or no fire? I don't think this is going to be yelling. First of all, the prosecutor that's doing the questioning of this witness you only get one prosecutor per witness. You know, one attorney questions each witness. The witness doesn't get to be questioned by two people from the same table. That's what I'm saying. So we're not going to get the gentleman who gets really passionate in the line of questioning. So I'm not sure if we're going to have the fire. She can bring a little bit, but it's not the heat that we've seen from him. Adam says, "What just happened? You missed a little bit. You missed a little bit. We've had some crazy things happening. We showed a little video there that's actually from it's from the Fort Worth Weekly, where they did an interview of this Mata. I think it's Manuel Mata, who was just kicked out of this trial. He was sitting right behind Aaron Dean, right behind the defense table, the front row, and the attorney stood up and said, 'Judge, I think Mata has graced us with his presence. We'd like to have him sworn in as a witness,' which means not that they were going to call him as a witness, but they were using the tool of what they call the rule. The rule is that anyone who's sworn in as a witness cannot be present and hear the testimony of other witnesses. Now, there are some exceptions to that, and Atatiana's family members are some of those exceptions. But this gentleman, who was an activist in the Fort Worth area, the judge had him stand up, and he's like, "What? You know, what's going on?" type thing. And the judge said, "I'm going to swear you in as a witness. That's what's going on. And raise your right hand. Do you agree to tell the truth?" And he's like, "I don't know what this is about. I've got questions." And he's like, "You don't get to ask the questions right now. Do you agree to tell the truth?" And he's like, "No, you know, and the judge verifies, says, "Is this your name? Is this your birthday?" And he says, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay, I've verified that's you. You have pending business before this court," meaning there's some court cases that you are going to appear as a defendant on that I'm the judge over. And I am ruling right now that the bond that you are released on those cases is insufficient. And I'm ordering you to be taken back into custody. There will be another bond hearing, and he may bond out again. But so that happened. So I was just showing a little video of him and a little background about that. We'll get to that maybe later if this hits a break.
That she believed in structure and that there was some sort of a schedule that was on the refrigerator.
Yes.
I want to ask you about Zion specifically. Now that she is not in his life anymore and hasn't been over the last 3 years, has he had to go to counseling?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
Zion feels that this is his fault,
Why does he feel like it's his fault?
that he burnt the burgers that night. And if he didn't have burnt the burgers, the doors wouldn't have been open and the cops wouldn't have came.
Man.
So it all goes back to him in an 8-year-old mind. And it's, when everyone is hurting around him, it was hard to console him. So we found help outside of us.
Was it
Poor Zion.
difficult last week for him to testify?
Extremely.
After he testified, did he have some emotional reaction to this whole process?
Yes.
What?
So much so that he did not go to school for the next couple of days after that, so that we can make sure that he felt comfortable. He was having panic attacks, just outbursts. An 11-year-old can't express why you're frustrated and why you're mad.
Yeah, we're almost done with the witness testimony. It's about time for the jury to determine what the sentence is.
That's the only remaining questions that I had to ask her.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Do you have objections?
No.
Well, actually, let me be clear. The only other questions I did intend to ask her is if she or her brother were a part of yelling at any of his family member yesterday afternoon. Outside of that, I did not have any additional subject matter to cover.
Let me say this in front of everybody. The way both of these families have behaved in this courtroom, I have no doubt that the Carr family was not involved in any of that. And I have appreciated
Both families have been very, very
demeanor,
respectful.
just as I've appreciated the demeanor of the Dean family. I thank both families throughout this trial. So that's not necessary, in my opinion, Ms. Dinger. Mr. Gill.
However, Judge, if the state wants to ask those questions, we are not going to object to that because we do not believe that they were any part of that either. I think
The person we just took
went
in,
through the holdover door a few minutes ago.
that's my understanding also, is the person who was involved.
Okay, so
All right.
that might be why. Did you hear that?
To weigh that the victim impact evidence has taken a turn away from the impact of the death of Atatiana Jefferson to impact of court proceedings. I don't believe that there's any relevance to how someone feels after court proceedings. I don't believe it's valid victim impact testimony.
I've got a couple of concerns based upon her testimony thus far when she stated that Zion said it's his fault because he burned the hamburger. We're getting into hearsay. That's my first thing.
So they missed an objection.
What
I was just going to ask, may I be permitted to ask him if he's sad?
That's an objection calling for hearsay.
His demeanor?
Oh, his demeanor, you can ask him that, yeah. But you can't go into statements that other people have said outside of court. So that's where I'm coming from. Any other objections?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm going to allow you to ask her generally about Zion. Has he had problems as a result of this? Has he sought counseling? Did that counseling have to either increase or intensify as a result of the trial?
I think he started crying when the judge was talking about the behavior of his family.
I want to keep it real general. Okay? Mr. Smith.
What about missing school?
I'll let you ask that.
Missing school because of the incident and the trial?
Correct.
Okay, so we're setting the ground rules.
If you choose, running objection to that. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you understand where we're coming from?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Set the ground rules. The jury's about to come in.
State's ready.
Okay, so the jury's going to hear this testimony here. Yeah, the jury is out right now. They're on their way back in. We're going to hear the same thing we just saw before, obviously in a little more detail. We know the ground rules that have been laid, the agreement between the two sides, and the judge has been pretty clear on what he will allow and what he won't, especially when it comes to hearsay. So we'll see if they're able to play within those rules. Yeah, this guy's court is pretty. He keeps tight reins.
Everyone
Doesn't mess around. It's all right.
We are
It's
ready
all right.
to
It happens.
proceed, Ms.
It happens, right?
Okay. Before the break, I was asking you about the relationship of Zion and Tatiana, and you were talking about the chores that were on the refrigerator. Have you been able to observe how this and the loss of Atatiana has affected him?
Yes, I have.
Tell me about that.
Since this has happened,
I think she'll break the
Zion
rules
has
because she
been,
doesn't understand the rules
placed
as well
with
as
an
the
IEP
prosecution
in
does.
school for social emotional learning.
Okay, what is it? You just said in an acronym. Say it again.
IEP.
IEP.
It's a plan to make sure that he's able to be the best successful that he can be in school. So there'll be some times that he will have outbursts. Emotions will come from nowhere, and he's in the middle of class.
I saw that.
Things like that. And in the plan, we've given him a space where he can just be by himself, to breathe through it, to also have a buddy at the school, but it's not a student, it's an adult buddy, that he can feel confident in talking to them, and them helping him talk through the stress at that moment.
That's right. This is the IEP they're talking about.
Has he had to go through counseling after Tatiana died?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, all this happened, I guess, at the beginning of the pandemic. So he was doing play therapy, but then when the pandemic happened, everybody kind of stopped, and he was doing virtual therapy. But he's a kid, so virtual therapy wasn't really for him. So we were able to find him in-person therapy, and where he's been attending.
has that counseling had to increase over the last few months or weeks in proceeding for the trial?
Well, it increased. Every time we got a delay, it increased.
Has he had to miss school because of some of these issues?
Yes. Sometimes he wakes up and frightened. Sometimes he wakes up crying where he can't understand why he's uncontrollably crying. And we just don't want to send him into an environment where his emotions are not intact for that day. So luckily the teachers have been working with us and sending, the work home or things like that, or telling us what he's missed, because they all understand that this is something traumatic for him.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Judge.
May Ms. Carr be excused again, subject to potential recall.
See if there's any more rebuttal. If not, we're going to decision time. The judge is running the soundboard. Every time he leans down over there, that's actually the microphone controller, the volume knob for that witness microphone. He has to do pretty much everything in his courtroom, even turn off the
Your
lights
Honor,
sometimes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state of Texas rests.
And close.
State of Texas closes as well.
Now they've closed. It's done.
All right.
Now we're on
That you will hear.
the jury's.
And,
Jury has one more job.
We're going to talk to the lawyers. Y'all retire to your room. I'll be back to visit with you.
Let's see if anyone else gets kicked out before this is over. Oh man. Back again, Suzanne. You missed a few things. It's been a little bit crazy, just a tiny bit. We're going to listen for a hot mic here for just a minute, or see if we maybe get some audio while the judge talks to the lawyers. But this case has drawn the attention of protesters, and we've seen possibly people involved with that outside the case, outside the trial, in the hallway, as well as people in the courtroom that have been kicked out by the judge. And the way he kicks them out is he swears them in as a potential witness in the case. And if you're a potential witness under the rule that both parties have agreed to, you're not able to stay in the courtroom and hear the testimony of other witnesses. That effectively makes the courtroom off limits for you for the duration of the trial. The judge doesn't refill his own jug of water, right? Bailiff Brian does that. And Brian sometimes also turns off the lights for him. It has been a crazy afternoon. You also might have missed that we had Matthew Harris on, both in voice and in person, almost through video, as we got that finally worked out. And hopefully the little hiccups were not too bad for you, Matthew. Thank you so much for being there. The judge, by my calculation, has drunk about 3.5 gallons today, just by counting, how many times the mug was refilled and everything else. And so this might be a break for him as well. We got a lot of drama today. Oh, a lot. Glug 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 is the water cooler. I'm wondering if he has like a Culligan type service, a water service where they come and bring in the filtered water, or if the bailiff just goes to the drinking fountain and just gets him, whatever tap water is available. Interesting to know. Or maybe he has a special stack of those Fiji water bottles, some of the most expensive water on earth. Or maybe he drinks Liquid Death. Have you guys seen that? Liquid Death. It's actually water. It's very pure water. Are the jurors now going to determine Aaron Dean's fate? Yes, Michelle, they are. They were here. This is the same jury, right? It's the same ones who determined he was guilty. Have now listened to all the evidence in the sentencing portion of the phase of the trial. Phase of the trial is what I meant to say. And so now the judge is going to give them a few instructions that will be much shorter, simpler than the instructions they got for the guilt and innocence phase, but similar and also in another way. They will make that decision in the deliberation room as well. They might need some more Post-it notes, but I believe that it will be relatively quick that they can come up with, because the idea of compromising on the years of that a sentence should be, as long as the jury members probably have an idea, a number of years that isn't 2 or 20, as long as we don't have two extremes on here, right? As long as they're somewhere in the middle, I think compromise would be pretty quick. So glad I got to be here for all the excitement. It was exciting. Purified H2O, we'll have to know. Matthew Harris, it was good having you on here with the Recovery Addict. Come back soon, right? And we can also bring a couple other people on that way. I know maybe Weather Watch if we ever have some more weather issues. We've got a few other legal expertise and others that they're in the chat, followers of the channel that we might be able to draw on their expertise as appropriate, as the cases require it. Abby says that Matthew is even more sexy on Zoom. It was good. We have to work on getting a overlay for you so we can see who you are. And that's my fault, Matthew. I didn't set that up beforehand. Everyone was asking, who's the guy above you? Who's the good-looking guy there with Recovery Addict was what they were saying. But that was Matthew. Patty says, sorry if I missed it, but did you have time to review SB's letter? Yes, we did. We didn't quite finish. We got through some of the list of her demands. We saw that she's written to the governor and wants him to step in and fix this problem. We see the one thing we expected, but I was disheartened to see is that she still has not been in contact with her lawyer since she wrote the letter last time, apparently, which means that this lawyer may not be the one that actually defends her in her trial, which would cause there to be a delay. She might get number 7, and we'll find out on the 20th. So that's going to be a hearing we definitely want to be there for. We know also that this letter will be addressed on the 20th with what she's brought up. Because of how this is working, normally when you have representation, the judge doesn't talk directly to the defendant very much, but it's a possibility we might have some communication as the judge tries to get clarification and opinion from Sarah as well. It's possible we can have just a unique situation happen there on the 20th. 10:45 a.m. Eastern time, I believe, is happening according to the letter. But yes, Patty, we will review that. And I think Monday's show, if we don't have any other trial to pick up on, I think we're going to do a recap of Sarah Boone's situation. I'll have to see how the weekend goes. We'll see. Does the jury need to be unanimous for the sentence decision? I believe they do have to be unanimous in both the sentence and the guilt. Let's see what else we have. Next big weather event, I'll be here, says Weather Watch. Awesome. I can't wait for you to be able to just throw the radar map up on the screen and show us in high definition exactly what Mother Nature has in store for us. Thank you for clarifying my question, too. Oh, no problem, Michelle. I appreciate you asking it. Okay. Nata Geek, welcome back. I saw you here before. I didn't see you for a while. I'm just praying the jury's not afraid of rioting. When they left yesterday, could they avoid seeing the protests? That's sort of what the testimony elicited from Dean's family, his mother specifically, saying when she left the court yesterday, waiting to go get in the car, basically they were sort of surrounded by protesters who were yelling and shouting. And although she didn't say she felt unsafe, she said she felt safe, but only because of the number of sheriff's officers there protecting them. So there's an element there that I think that might be interesting, or at least of note to the jury when they're thinking about impact. And I don't know which way that'll go. Let's see. Were those shenanigans done in the presence of the jury? Golden Girl, was Matta? I think he was brought up. I'll have to go back. I think he was in the presence of the jury. She did write to the governor, Laura. She's really stepping up. I think the president is next, or she might just appeal straight to the Supreme Court before her case has even been adjudicated. Kimberly says, I can't call Matthew sexy. He's my kid's age. He just looks like a good guy. Matthew says, I realized in my rush to get live that I didn't even turn on my good microphone. I went back to see my surprised face at the arrest and went, "Doh," when I heard my audio. Great test. We'll do more. We'll do more as your schedule allows, Matthew. Thank you very much. Let's see. Just scrolling. I feel that Boone is too entitled to give up her lawyer. Totally. Right. I don't think she's going to defend herself because she's, although she thinks she does everything to the best of her ability, I don't think she's so conceited as to think that she could be a better attorney just by winging it. So I don't think she'll do that. But she does want somebody that really goes to bat for her and holds her hand all along the way. I think she might be a little high maintenance in that regard. Still snowing. How much snow do you have there? Radigus? Is your Matthew Harris in the Cincinnati area? No, Karen. My Matthew Harris is in Texas. He's in Lubbock, Texas. Please cover the Delphi murders. We'll see what's aired. I don't know where that's going to go. If we're going to have cameras in the courtroom with the change of the judge that we've had. I thought that the new judge was going to be more open, but maybe I may be wrong. It's open to cameras in the courtroom. That is, it is really his decision. Of course, the prosecution and defense will have some input on that as well. A big thank you to Recovery Addict for all the hard work he does for us. Hey, I'm just here for you, Abby. I'm glad you could be here, and I'm thank you for all the hard work you do as a mod. One of the OG mods on the channel. Fantastic work. All the way from the UK, too. 6 hours ahead of me, and she's still here day or night. Does your mic make you sound like me? I can probably run your audio through some stuff to make you sound like you're on the radio, Matthew, if you need. Nana Geek says, I've been sick all week. I'm sorry. It seems like COVID, but don't have the test. I hope it's not. I hope you get feeling better. Hope it passes quickly. She's crazy, so no, she wouldn't be her own lawyer. Kenny, I agree. I think the judge would be like, no, you need help, legal help too. Lucky you, SB doesn't have the internet. She'd be writing you. She would, because I have a listening ear, right? But we have people here in this channel that have written letters to her and have not got a response yet, so I'm not sure. But she did mention that she got a letter all the way from England, I believe, at one point. Richard Davis says, Recovery Addict, you could use me for fusion explanations and other science things. Yes, thank you for the links, by the way. I will say that the technical explanation of that news story from the other day on fusion might have to be dumbed down into smaller words for me. I'm not a nuclear physicist. That's not my strong suit. I'm very interested in the result, the outcome of that development, but you might have to write it in crayon as you explain it to me. Had to step out with the dogs. Is court and break? It is, briefly. But the break is an important one. This is the break between all the evidence that they've heard in the sentencing phase of the trial and the actual sentencing deliberations. So when we come back, the jury will be brought back in. The judge will give them instructions on how to proceed with their sentencing deliberations, and then we're on sentencing watch. Probably not very long. I think that'll come back tonight for sure. Any word from WFAA? Jury is going home until 9 a.m. Monday. This is from the YouTube video. Says Michelle. So basically you're saying everything I just said is wrong. Let's see. Okay, so I don't have WFAA pulled up right now to take. I'm watching on my phone. I'm not seeing. It looks like they're still talking about Mata, which we can go back and watch a little bit of his videos. The feed I had here was from a local, sort of like an independent news source, I believe. From let's go here. It's on this one right here. And where are we at? Right there. This is Mata on the right. This is the gentleman that
to expose them and
that was just kicked out of the Arendine trial.
People like to not only pick up the camera and record them, which is our First Amendment right, but also to be intelligent about what you're doing as far as knowing the basic laws, the actual penal codes. There's a whole bunch of avenues you can take to bring awareness.
This is interesting that he's
not only
saying that here.
happening to you,
he's wearing two body camera,
like your whole neighborhood where you live in,
devices.
because it doesn't only affect me, because they don't just do this to me. I'm just the only one that got a camera and put them on YouTube. You know, so that's my whole thing. I just want to make people.
This is from a couple months ago, I believe.
About the laws,
this video
and their rights.
So if people want to get involved, and anyone can become a citizen journalist, but what do you recommend? Where do they start?
You can use Facebook Live to start your encounters. And then you could use some of those videos if you want to. I mean, this is totally up to whoever, right? The way I did it, I started a YouTube channel. And I got, I think,
This is him.
1,000
This is
subscribers
Manuel
in
Mata.
like 3-4 days to be able to go live in case something, like the first couple videos that I put out were of my arrest and then going to go get
He does have some
names and
pending
badge numbers
issues
from the
before
police
this judge, and now
department right down the
possibly a
street.
little bit more.
And they threatened me with arrest and trespassed me for getting names and badge numbers of the police department. And they didn't understand that we had the right to be there. And it's just crazy.
So when you capture that live, there's a record. They can't say it didn't happen.
Ed, we definitely
That's
know
the
he
difference.
has
That's why
been in front of the judge. And the judge says he has an outstanding bond in that court before him. And he said it was insufficient. Or not outstanding, but he had a bond that he was released on that he deemed was insufficient because of his behavior there in court, and took him back in custody, as was his authority, as Cullivar pointed out.
They can pause it.
I still don't understand how the attorneys were linked into that. He's an activist and possibly more of a protester agitator type role. And so he may have been involved in something with the family that they're aware of. And so they probably talked to the judge, and the judge probably said, hey, pick him out and we'll get rid of him.
Oh, just go to YouTube and look up my name.
But that's who he has, Manuel Mata.
Blue shirt with the
That's his channel right there. If you want to see some of what he does.
Supporters and fans out there, we know you're going through a lot right now because of what you're trying to do to help people. And
It's a chance they would be sequestered over the weekend, if that's true. I haven't heard anywhere else. I'm looking for an independent confirmation that
just inform yourself.
the jury's
Inform yourself about what it
going
is
home.
you're trying to do,
It just seems early for them to go home, especially in this phase in the trial, where they still have time. We're just getting up to 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock my time, so 4 o'clock their time. I think it's still early.
well, thanks for your time, Manuel. Best of luck.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so that was the little feed we took there from a news feed where they interviewed him a couple months ago. Let's see, where are we here? Let's see if we can get WFAA on, just so we can catch a little more audio of what's happening. He goes nuts in the link I sent. Yeah, Richard, you did send a link. I saw that. He has, let me see. Go back. That is a link in a case where it says Justice for Manuel Mata, wrongful arrest, First Amendment. So I'm not sure if we can play that yet. I'll have to watch it. But it seems like the judge is going to have his hands full with that guy. It said he didn't have his camera vest on when he got arrested today. I didn't see any cameras. It's possible he might have tried to film in court before, because that's sort of the thing he does. He's like, if I have the right to be here, I have the right to film. But maybe he bowed to the judge's authority and didn't. He is a cop watcher. He tends, I would say he's probably in the right most of the time, but he does sort of push for an altercation. That's what makes his channel grow. It makes he pushes for that scenario where the police officer will do something wrong, and he probably flirts with the line as closely as he can within his rights. So I'd say he's generally right. Probably wrong before the judge here. At least it was the wrong thing to say to the judge, because the judge was also within his rights to do what he did today, according to the law that was cited earlier. It sounded like Mata should have watched my last video on how to record police without getting arrested. Yes, it can be done in most states. I think it's legal to do that. Obviously, you cannot interfere. The judge is not going to lose any sleep over Mata. Okay, I'm not a fan of Mata either from what I see, but it seems that there would need to be a subpoena to swear him in as a witness, especially an obviously hostile witness. This judge does not feel that way, and wields that the ability to swear anyone in quite loosely. He throws it around quite a bit. We've seen several people sworn in. Even attorneys representing the family civilly have been sworn in. Katrina, thank you for listing the burner phone number. For those that are new here, we do have a burner phone just for the channel where you can reach me by dialing those digits on your own phone. You can leave a voicemail if you'd like. There's a good chance we might play it if you follow the rules, and those are spelled out in the recording. Also, you can send me a text or an image if it's appropriate as well. We'll show that as well. If it's appropriate and pertinent, I should say. Debbie says, recovery addict, I just found out where I live. You don't have to show your license to the police. I guarantee if the police ask you for my license, I will give it to them. Right. The rules regarding identifying yourself to police are different. And it is important you know your rules and know what you're doing and how it translates into what rights you have. Weatherwatch says, recovery addict well in the courthouse, it might be a good time to behave yourself. Yes, it's always a good time to behave yourself, especially if you're going to be before that judge again in the future, which he was. Yay, Spam RA. Thank you, Abby. Appreciate that. Okay. Oh, wow. Let me see what this is here. No video from any of the courtrooms right now. Just checking. See if we can get something from WFAA just to hear if anyone has heard. Let's see. Would Aaron Dean remain in custody if the jurors don't make a decision today or tonight? Yes, he's going to stay in custody. You see when he goes out that door with the bailiff, that's because he is in custody. He's sleeping not in a cell, not in a hotel or anything else. He came into the courtroom without being subpoenaed. You're right, he did, but he came in as a member of the public or possibly as a member of the press, depending on how he represented himself. And the courtroom is open. It is an open court. Obviously, they want to reserve room for the family members at this time of the trial specifically. But once the family members are in, basically, I think it's a first come, first serve sort of thing. They're on recess until something. What were you saying there, Sophie? When are they on recess till? I just saw a video of Mata getting arrested on Law and Crime, and it's crazy how all the comments are against the judge and in favor of Mata. Let's see. If you're not obeying the law, then why not show ID? Michelle, basically the idea behind that is that a right not exercised is lost. And so if you have the right not to identify yourself, the police don't have the right to stop and ask you and for your documents, basically. Then even though you're not guilty, exercising that right preserves that right. That's the thought line behind that. When a cop comes up to my window, I have my license, insurance, and registration ready for him. I've had 2 tickets. Most cops are really reasonable when you're respectful. MB, it sounds like you might have a lead foot issue. Do you drive fast? No, just kidding. Yes, when the cop pulls you over for an infraction, I believe one of the things you have to do is present your license, because driving a vehicle in, I believe, every state is not a right. It's not a right to be able to drive on the roads. Although there's a soft-sit argument that says otherwise. It is a privilege, and part of that privilege requires you to obey certain rules or participate in and follow certain guidelines. And having a driver's license is one of them, and you have to show it upon request. I think pretty much in every state, if you get pulled over, that's a law. If you're not doing anything wrong, especially, people do not like to just have to show their ID. It's like, you shouldn't be able to stop me if I'm not doing anything wrong. Now, put that in the mind of we watched earlier this week, we watched the police chase that ended with the dog biting the individual who was not in the vehicle that the police were chasing. The dog bit, wrong guy type of thing. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just walking away from the liquor store holding a tall boy. I'm not even sure if it was open. But the police officer pulled up, held him at gunpoint, sort of like a felony stop, but he was a pedestrian, and then released the dog on him. Because the guy, after talking to the police officer and shrugging a little bit, clearly looking like, don't know what you're doing, why are you stopping me type thing. He started walking away, and that's when the dog bit him. Ashley says, Recovery Addict, if we're done, can you read the rest of the Sarah Boone letter before we go? Yes, we can do that. Let me go back here. I'm going to watch the court case to see if the video comes back. But and if it does, we'll stop the letter. But Sarah Boone, for those who are not familiar, she is the lady from Florida who is accused of putting her boyfriend in a suitcase and leaving him there for 11 hours. The boyfriend suffocated, passed away. When she realized that he was still there, she went to let him out, and it was too late. But in between putting him in and letting him out, she also took her cell phone out of her pocket and made 2 videos, 11 minutes apart, of him struggling to get out of the suitcase and begging, saying, "I can't breathe, let me out." I see this WFAA tweeted deliberations beginning Monday. Yeah, we might be done with Aaron Dean till Monday, which means we might have to delay Sarah Boone a little bit. But here's what we've got. So Sarah Boone has been in custody for about 3 years now, about 3 years. And in the process of this, she's been assigned many different attorneys. One public defender, then they released them because she was going to hire someone. Turns out she couldn't hire someone, so she asked for a defender again. The new defender she got was, I think, had represented her boyfriend in a previous domestic issue, and another one represented a potential witness. And so we've got, one after another, we start going through public defenders who are not able to represent her. Some of them just say, we have differences that I cannot disclose without breaking attorney-client privilege, but I just cannot represent her. There's no way we can work on this going forward. And the judge has released them. So she's on number 6 now. Mr. Bankowitz is who she's on right now. And she already has written a letter to Mr. Bankowitz and copied the judge and said, hey, why won't you talk to me? Why won't you tell me what's going on? Things like that. We've barely talked. She copies the judge. And then she sent another letter to the judge saying, hey, I'm still, I wish I'd knew what's going on. Why is my lawyer talking to me? Can you make him talk to me? Sort of thing. The judge files it, stamps it, files it. Obviously doesn't talk to her directly. That would probably be inappropriate, at least outside of a court setting. And then just this week, 2 days ago, she filed another letter was filed that she sent to the judge. It's dated December 5th, but it was filed December 14th in the court. And she says this. I'm going to start over. First of all, it says December 5th. It's handwritten on lined paper from Sarah Boone with her case number on there as well. It's stamped "No action taken, return to file," as well as "Received from judge," and handwritten it says "Address at 12:20 hearing." That hearing is happening on the 20th. Next week, we get this hearing where the judge is going to have a status hearing and talk to the different attorneys and say, where are we in this trial? Are we ready to proceed? And also, why is the defendant writing me these letters, Mr. Bankowitz? So we're going to hear some interesting stuff. So I'm going to start at the beginning of this letter, number 3. And this is the second letter she's written to this judge. So here we go, back at the top. She had headline, "Summary of Progress," and in parentheses, "Numbers only, it's all I have." Number 1. So she's summarizing how long, basically she's got a stopwatch on all these different events, how long it's taken since, or how long it's been since these events happened. And she says, number 1, since appointed by the court, Frank J. Bankowitz, attorney number 6, it has been, that was July 11th, 2022. And it has been 21 weeks, 147 days, she's done the math, and counting. That was number 1. Number 2, since last spoke to Frank J. Bankowitz, attorney number 6, August 22nd, 2022, which has been 15 weeks, 105 days and counting. 15 weeks that she has not spoken to her lawyer as she's about to begin trial. Number 3, since pretrial conference, no response from attorney or court. October 25th, 2022, that was the pretrial conference. It's been 6 weeks, 42 days, and counting. 4, since my last letter to judge regarding MIA attorney, that's missing in action, and case. That was on November 3rd, 2022. It's been 4 weeks, or 32 days and counting. So she waited a whole month to send letter number 2 to the judge. Number 5, total hours of time represented by Mr. Frank J. Bankowitz. That's 3,528 and counting. So that's total hours of time represented by Frank J. Bankowitz, 3,528 and counting. Total hours spent with the client, 2. Now, in thinking about this, that can't be right. That really can't be right. Was he really put on the case 3,528 days ago? Or is that how long she's been in custody and she's now represented by him, but she's only spent 2 hours with him? So I'll have to look at that math, looking at the dates. Adam says she's insane. Do you think Judge Darrow is getting DB letters? I hope not. I guess he's getting appeal letters. And Judge Wooten, that's the judge in this case, Debbie, you're correct. He's dealing with her and DeWitt too. So anyway, she's going to have plenty of time to count hours pretty soon. She shouldn't tire herself out now. So this goes on. Now she goes into the explanation. We're done with the summary for the numbers. She said that's all she had, and she just had summary. But she says, "Where's my attorney? Where are you, Judge Wooten? I understand the holiday mode everyone is in as we inmates sit and wait for it to pass. But before we come to the end of yet another year, almost 3 for me, in OCCD, it would be respectable of the court." I have to read it just like it's written, so it's sometimes rough. "It would be respectable of the court to please advise the status and location of my attorney foremost, and also provide any real progress of my case, which is difficult to do and further without an attorney. Nonetheless, after being appointed so many, I thought hopefully the level of dysfunction would be lessened, period." That was a long sentence. "Unfortunately, to date, I am sadly mistaken, and I feel I've been severely misled. Even more unfortunate seems to be the lack of representation from any party of my case other than myself. Look at the numbers." We did. "In the meantime, and in preparation for the upcoming status hearing on 12/20 at 10:45 a.m., which I just received notice for, thank you for the inclusion, I am in the process of writing to our governor regarding the mismanagement of my case and the multiple added obstacles and deterrents I'm experiencing, trying to avoid any further time-consuming hindrances or setbacks going forward." Hours, not days. Okay, Tom, thank you for correcting me. That would be the 3,000 hours. I was thinking days for some reason, but I think I said hours as well. "Some of the major legitimate concerns," continue on this letter from Sarah Boone to Judge Wooten, "some of the major legitimate concerns of mine are the violations of my constitutional rights, the degree of neglect and the nonchalant approach by everyone in my case to substantially progress, and the illegal, non-permissive release and distribution by the Orange County Sheriff's Department of crucial confidential case files, videos, photographs, documents, etc., pertinent to my case, which I have not even seen or even know about." Everyone knows more than I do about my case. As a result, it is impossible to choose a jury that will be impartial, fair, and influenced by all the mutated, exaggerated, hyped sensationalism. This being a significant reason I requested a change of venue previously. At this point, it will make no difference. There is nowhere I am not known. The premature, unfair judgment by everyone has wrongfully and inappropriately already been made. I haven't even seen my discovery or know where my attorney is, my 6th attorney. Not only am I, the other party in my case, still in the dark with everything, I am blind and in the dark. This is wrong, unfair, especially for a still proud citizen of the United States of America, and unacceptable. There's more to everything, much more, and in which I've been patient to extreme to explain, interpret, and educate what now seems to be the whole world. I'm reading this for the first time, okay, on this portion. I've never read this portion. I don't know where she's going, but we're reading up to the conclusion here. "I am hopeful the governor will be able to untangle the chaos and mistreatment. No one else seems to be available or willing to abide by the protocol of our justice system," in quotes, justice, "and rightfully, eagerly apply themselves. I'm hoping, still, these aforementioned topics can be further discussed at the hearing on the 20th, and in which I am bringing to everyone's attention prior. I have not heard from my court-appointed attorney to date, so I am unaware what else may be on the docket. It's time to finally move forward with all the right ways. In all the right ways. Happy holidays, Sarah Boone." Happy holidays at the end of that. I'm reading this just perfectly. I think I'm reading this in the tone of voice she wrote it in. I'm not trying to infer anything. I will say this. She has amazing penmanship. And although sometimes the wording gets a little jumbled, it's very easy to read. She does everything very well, according to her own testimony. I think we need sock puppets for this reading. We might be able to arrange that, Katrina. I think Scott should narrate books. I do to my children, although reading them on YouTube gets me a copyright strike, which is that's a no-no on YouTube because they're copyright usually. Maybe she will hire DB. Maybe she will. I don't think she will try to represent herself, but I think she wants a lawyer that is like totally dedicated to her case, which she's not going to get in the public defender's office. There is no public defender out there who has nothing on his plate or her plate and is just able to just devote 100% of their time to Sarah Boone and her whims and questions. But clearly, if what she says is true, yeah, it might be concerning to the court that she has not heard from her attorney in so long, that she has no idea how the case is progressing and how she can participate in her defense. Let's see. You should show. Let's see. Where was that? You should show. She should know all about videos and pictures. She was a star of them. Yes, she was. There's the best one in her case that will most likely be the most damning against her is the video she took of George in the suitcase struggling for air, saying, "Sarah, please, I can't breathe, let me out," and her saying, "Blank you," basically. And this is how I feel when you choke me. This is how I feel when you cheat on me. I want Sarah Boone to end all of my letters, says Adam. Sarah has asked for luggage for Christmas. I think she has like a wish list on Amazon. Samsonite is what I heard. Good heavens, was she present for her own interrogation? That's quite the exhibition. That's what I'm basing the tone of the letter on as I read it to you, is how she presented herself in the interrogation. That woman has big ones, good grief. I can't wait to hear what the governor says, because clearly the governor is just going to wade right in the middle of this and order everything to be made right. She needs to zip it. Oh, man, Kevin, that was good. I do believe she's smarter than DB. I think so as well. But at the same time, the reasonable person is coming to a different conclusion that she's coming to. So she's missing something. You could probably get away with reading Lovecraft, possibly. It just shuffled on me here. Lil Miss says, I saw her buffer a couple times. What gives? Anyone else? Yes, I know what's happening. Where I may have to up my bandwidth with my ISP, which means basically just means I have to pay them more to do the job I'm asking them to do already, because it's not sufficient. Do you think she might need a box fort or two? This woman might need a whole box castle. The suitcase is stronger than her court case. Sarah Boone is scary. I don't see her as scary, but I mean, George did obviously there at the end. The fact that she could sit there and watch him struggle for air and then walk away from him and just go lay down and say, "Oh well." A great verbal inflection on how Sarah Boone sounds like. I mimicked her voice as best I could. Did Mary Poppins do everything nearly perfectly too? She was practically perfect, I think, Kikiti. I see this is her sixth attorney. Yes, we can go into that tag. We can go into why each of the attorneys have asked or been removed from our case, because that's interesting. Florida does a great job making a lot of these case file documents available, and I have that saved to my favorites page, so we can go into all that information. All I knew was her first one was reprimanded because he had a history of ignoring clients. Okay, tag, that was this one here. This attorney, Bankowitz, was reprimanded previously in another case for not being responsive to his client, as well as there were some other things about failing to pay income tax for an employee, and that I can actually see if you dig into that one. I think that was a oversight. That was like a clerical error. He fixed it. It's done. But the ignoring the clients thing, he had to pay them a fine. I think it was like $1,250 that were paid to the defendant or something, because they had, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So he's definitely got a check mark. His name has been written on the board. He's on the naughty list a little bit, as far as that goes. How dare you, sir, pour doubt on my dream of self-representation. How dare you? I'm sorry, Colovar. I'm sure you do a great job representing yourself in court. She could use one of those black magic devices just to turn back time a little bit. I'm hoping mine is actually sitting, hopefully it's in the house, not out on the porch where somebody can grab it. Mrs. R.A., if you're listening, can we do a package check, please? They need to put Aaron Dean, Sarah Boone, and his suitcase in the same room together and just let them sort it out. Last one standing. I don't use suitcases. I use flat rate boxes mailed to the middle of the desert. The flat rate boxes, I've shipped a lot of those. A whole person, I say this carefully, a whole person wouldn't fit inside a flat rate box. Yes, the video and her commenting was very powerful and not in her favor at all. Good heavens. Ron DeSantis is on it. The governor is probably headed right there to meet with her personally. She's not scary unless you're her boyfriend. Let's see. What was this? Okay, that's something else. Okay. I get updates sometimes that pop through that are not related, and that was not. She was a straight A student. She testified to that. Everything she does perfectly. She excels at everything. She's a potential candidate for being a friend of Bill. She is for sure missing a beat or 10. Okay, so it's looking more and more like we're not going to get back into the courtroom here with the Aaron Dean cases. I'm just trying to find some other confirmation, if anyone other than WFAA, if someone could just verify all my my internet sleuths who are in the chat. Let's check on Aaron Dean. Let's see. Can't see anything happening. Trials and punishment phase. Court is adjourned for the day. Back in session at 9 a.m. on Monday. So I think that was from, looks like that was CBS 11 on that one. So we'll believe that. Okay, so court's over for the day, which means we're done. We'll finish wrapping up here talking about Sarah. And we'll pick up the sentencing phase, which should be fairly quick, Monday morning. Did she imply a romance with one of her attorneys? Oh, Melody. Did she ever? When she wrote to Bankowitz, this current one she's complaining about, her first letter to Bankowitz, that she copied the judge on and was like, why haven't you answered my calls? Everything, I call you every day. Why are you ignoring me? If it's about the fees for a collect call, the judge will reimburse you for that. All this. And then she's like, I think God brought us together for a reason. I can't wait to see what we can become together. It's so exciting. It was a weird ending. She obviously becomes a different person when it's time to end the letter. Right before she signs her name, she's like, she goes wacko. It's like a change of personality. She's scary in how manipulative she is and how she can murder someone, allegedly, and behave like she's being hard done by. Didn't she wait to call police until the next morning? It was almost next afternoon, but she slept in quite a while. She got up. She thought, oh, George is probably downstairs on the computer. He's probably looking for a job or something, from inside the suitcase. But it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, and she didn't call the police first, Daniel. She called her ex-husband, who shows up and then says, we probably should call the cops on this one. So exactly how wasn't it intentional? Let's see, Better Call Saul. I was mailing a care pack to my son last Easter, and the mail lady said, no matter the weight, I can mail it out flat rate. I asked her that includes ex-husbands too, and it took her 5 minutes to get that I was joking. She probably pushed that red button under the counter and said, we've got a live one here. Send help. I read where a prisoner escaped in a shipping box from a prison and was delivered to another prison. He thought it was going out of there. He thought he was going to get away, but I wonder if he survived the trip. But she wasn't drunk when she went to bed. She just fell asleep immediately and didn't pass out at all. That's what she said. Well, she was not drunk. She's not a person to get drunk. And then once she realized it was going wrong for her, she said, I blame the wine. Law and crime confirmed, done till Monday. Awesome. Thank you, Melody. I see that here. Back on Monday. So we'll be back on Monday too. the story of SB is my research this weekend. Maureen, awesome. If you find something really incredible and juicy, I'll be going through all the documents that are filed, that are available in the from the court. As you look at the Orange County Clerk of Court website, now, there's a ton out there, but it still shows that the hearing is scheduled for the 30th of January, and that's not going to change unless something happens in the status hearing on the 20th. But we'll be here for that. I can't wait to hear from her ex-husband and her husband's family. Her boyfriend's family, Bella. I don't think she was married to George, although I think she said at one time that they were getting married, but she wanted the ring back when she was getting interrogated. When can I have the ring? Because that's mine. I bought that. Can I have the ring back from the love of my life? I should be heartbroken over. Because I just want to move on with my life, and I need to call his work and say he's not going to be coming in or whatever it was. What calls do I have to make? It was a bizarre interview, just bizarre. We might air some of that as well. I'd like to know how we got into the suitcase in the first place. Hide and seek is a lame excuse. Very much. It's going to be a hard sell for the jury because we all know how that game's played. What size suitcase is he? Not big enough, unfortunately. Sarah filmed the whole ordeal, and she showed the video to the cops. The way that went, Jake, she filmed it. I'm not sure. I've heard two things. I've heard that she filmed it and then deleted the video and it was recovered, and I've heard that she filmed it and didn't delete the video and the police found it when they searched her phone. But if you watch the interview where she's in the police station, she was asked. She voluntarily came down there and responded, and it's a fairly long interview, but they say, hey, we'd like to show you something. And she's like, what is it? Type thing. And they're like, we found that on your phone. She's like, do I have to watch it? I don't want to watch it. But they're like, why wouldn't you want to watch it? You filmed it. Let's see. Could be the basis for a Black Mirror episode. Okay, let's see. Who else has tagged me here? Sam Terry says, I'm out of here, everyone. What an awesome day. See you on Monday at Recovery Addict. You did amazing. I would say big thanks to Matthew Harris. I'm reading your name, Terry, Sam Terry, and saying Matthew Harris for coming on live on the channel. Appreciate him. He's been with us as often as his job allows, and it's wonderful to have him. And some other legal. What's a polite word for a legal nerd? A law nerd. We have some other lawyers and legal related individuals professionally who are in the chat. We might have to get them on as well. Everyone have a great weekend. Thanks for the live stream. I think it's time to play some music, right? It is. I threw so many things during DB's trial I couldn't look at him, but I had to hear him. The family called her the White Devil. Yes. They lived just down the road. She was worried they were going to find out. When do they find out? Are you going to tell them? They're like, yeah, we're going to tell them. Great day together. Some weird turns. Right. I could not have predicted this morning. It was bizarre. It has been a remarkable day. Thank you all for being here. A lurd? What's a lurd? Was that a typo, Richard? I will say this. It's been absolutely fantastic to have you here. I want to thank all those who support the channel by liking, by sharing, by subscribing, by ringing the bell, by sending a super chat. That is awesome. That helps me keep doing what I love doing, which is this, coming with you every day to enjoy legal proceedings from around the country. This is the Court of Public Opinion, and you guys all are jurors here, so I appreciate all your input. My name is Recovery Addict. That's what I go by here on YouTube. It's a weird name, but I chose it because I was like metal detecting and recovering artifacts from the ground. It was an addiction of mine, and now I'm addicted to true crime with all of you. So thank you as I wade through deeper into this addiction, because it's not getting better. Tonight, when you go home, please give hugs to everybody you love. Smile at somebody, make their day just a little bit better. And please, please, please stay safe until we go live next time, which might be Saturday afternoon. It's going to be a weird time, but I'm booked up till about noon. We might do an afternoon live stream and show some pictures, some of the stuff that's not really court related, things I've got on the burner phone as you've sent stuff to that. We'll do that as well. But thank you all. We'll see you then. If not, we'll see you at 9 a.m. Monday for more of the same case. See you guys.